All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Be an Invaluable Resource to your advertising clients, an advertising prep workshop. This is the 7th webinar in the America East News Media Summit webinar series. My name is Mary Firestone, and I am the manager of meetings and member services for the Pennsylvania NewsMedia Association. The PNA has organized a series of complimentary webinars that feature much of the content scheduled for the Live America East Summit that was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Today's session will be recorded, and we will be sharing a link to that recording and a follow-up communication early next week. In today's session, our speaker, Ryan Dohrn of Swell Media, will be working to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and training to become an asset to your clients and a top performer within your organization. We encourage you to submit questions for Ryan throughout today's workshop, and you can submit those questions through the webinar chat. The webinar chat is located in the upper right side of your GoToMeeting window with the chat bubble icon. So now I'll pass over the workshop to our speaker. Thank you again, Ryan, for being available for this today.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thanks, Mary, and thanks to the entire group, America East, for getting together, and the Pennsylvania News Media Organization. Glad to be here, friends. Let's have some fun together, and let's figure out what we can do to not only survive this current situation, but how about let's make some money and let's thrive during this current situation as well. So glad to have all of you here with us today. All right, so what you can do is if you look over in your chat bubble, look at the chat bubble real quick. So it's at the top, and you can see the little chat, little bubble. Click there, and there's a couple things I want to point you to. So at the very, very top, it says "Me to Everybody," copy of all of Ryan's slides. Everybody see that? Now, if you start downloading them now, it's gonna ruin the broadcast for you, probably depending on your internet connection. But what we have there is that I'm going to share 3 different slide decks. So first thing out of the gate this morning, we're going to talk about reigniting post-COVID conversations with our advertisers. So it's like getting them excited to get back to advertising, right? We'll do that between 9 and 9:50. Then we'll take a 10-minute coffee break because I'll be out of coffee by then too. And then the next deck that you'll see there is going to be about objection handling. And we've got a couple of you that have submitted objections, which is awesome. We'll answer those, as well as pretty much the objections you're getting are pretty much the same ones I'm getting because I still actively sell, as a lot of you know. And so we'll do that one from 10 to 10:50. Then we'll take another 10-minute break. And then we're going to talk about hosting meetings. I have a new format that I use. I think for some of you, it's going to be a little eye-opening because you'll say, ooh, I don't know if I can do that or not. Nothing crazy, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. So that's the 3 things we're going to cover today. Restarting these conversations, objection handling, and hosting meetings. And of course, I'll be sharing my screen the entire time. All right, so if you have questions, chat them across. And of course, you've got the ability to unmute yourself as well. And if you notice that one of your fellow colleagues is unmuted by accident, let me know, and then we'll get on board with them and we'll get them muted. We'll shut them off. All right, so where it says view everyone, a little drop down menu there, it says view everyone. If you don't want to view everyone, you just click view who's talking, and then you would see my smiling face there. So, all right, well, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of you. For those of you that don't know me, as Mary said, my name is Ryan Dohrn, and my company is Swell Media. I started 360 ad sales training because I realized that most of the training out there started with something like this. You know what you should do? You should meet with the decision maker. And I was like, okay, do we have any good advice today? Everybody knows that. And that's why I wrote the book Selling Backwards, working on a couple new ones now. And really why I started the podcast Ad Sales Nation. And the reason I did is because there was no podcast for those of us in the ad sales business. Here's the thing, guys. And that's why most sales books are not good to read. I mean, other than mine. The reason is because most selling occurs one time. You're selling a car or a washing machine or insurance. The sale basically occurs once. Maybe you have to renew that person in a year or a couple of years. In ad sales, we have to go back to people over and over and over again. It's this hamster wheel that we live on. So that's really why I started the Ad Sales Nation podcast, because ad sales is different. I tell people all the time, if you can sell an ad, you can sell anything. It's tough. And that's why sort of my tagline is, we'll start with, if ad sales was easy, everybody be doing it. And they're not. So we're either crazy, which is very possible, or we found careers friends that will feed our families for a lifetime. I've had the opportunity to work with over 500 magazine and newspaper titles. Like all of you, I still sell media every day. Over 20,000 ad sales reps in 7 countries. I'm very familiar with the community newspaper business. I work with big papers and I work with small papers, work with folks all across the country. So really glad to have the opportunity to do that and work with all of you. So I've done nothing but publishing for the last 30 years, publishing in local media, radio, TV, big publishing like a Penwell Publishing and smaller titles in smaller towns across the country. There was 2 weeks when I sold cell phones back in the early 90s. I said to my boss, the cell phone thing, it's going nowhere. I'm going back to media. I'd probably be the VP of sales for Verizon right now, living in a big house in Florida, probably. I love the media business and thrilled to be talking about the media business. I was traveling and came across this sign, which I thought was pretty. Every time I come across a funny sign on the road, I always take a picture of it and write it down. So I was in Canada, I think. This is the Swan ad for a graphic designer. We need a graphic designer, obviously. I thought this one was funny as well. A local business owner had this out in front. Hopefully, we won't see a sign like this out in front of any local papers. Although in some cases it would apply. I can see some of you laughing. I'm a bourbon fan, a whiskey fan. So I thought this was kind of funny. I don't remember where this sign was at, but soup of the day, whiskey. If you're not laughing right now, I know it's early, but you're gonna have to pump it up a little bit. You always find some good humor on signs out in front of churches. I thought that this one was pretty good. There are some questions that can't be answered by Google. I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of funny. My wife of 25 years is big time in the horse business. She's one of the largest equestrian event producers of rodeo type events in the entire country. And guess who gets to sell all of her sponsorships that you see there in the barrels and things like that? That'd be me. So about half of the $1 million I sell a year in advertising is related to live event and media sponsorships related to live events. So really proud of my wife for how well she's done in that business. These events are big and they're back on. So starting in April, it didn't look like this. They were more spread out than that. These events draw some pretty big crowds. I've got 2 boys, one that's off to be an engineer and one that is in the United States Navy. One of my favorite pictures of my kids, and my wife captured this years and years ago. This is me teaching my boys how to change a tire on the horse trailer and the trailers that my wife travels with for her business. My son that's in the Navy said to me a long time ago, he said, Dad, you don't know the number of times that changing a tire has come in handy. So we're real proud of Dylan. He's over in Bahrain right now with the U.S. Navy Riverine Regiment. He's a special warfare operator. Their primary job is security of ports, as well as hunting down pirates that tend to bother not only our ships, but all kinds of other ships that are out there. So we're real proud of him, and hopefully we'll get to see him here. Looks like next Christmas is the first opportunity that he'll be back. So a big thank you and a big shout out to all the folks out there that have family in the military, first responders, police officers, and things like that. From my family to yours, we sure appreciate y'all very, very much, especially those that are currently serving and those that are retired and out of service as well. We are very thankful for your service. I live 7 miles from the Augusta National Golf Course. The Masters was canceled this year. It'll be back on with no patrons coming up here in November. So I live in a little town called Beach Island, South Carolina. And the besides myself, the only other person you probably know from Beach Island, South Carolina is James Brown. Obviously, the godfather of soul is much more famous than Ryan Dohrn is, but he was here to lived a mile down the street. And about $500 million in media sales is where all of this information is coming from. So that's a little about me. Let's dig in, get your pens and paper ready. Again, if you just joined us, thanks for being here. In the chat area, is where you can download all the slides. You'll see a Dropbox link, and that's where you find them. All right, so getting advertisers back. Can we get them back? Absolutely. The answer is yes. There's never been a better time to advertise than right now, in my opinion, in almost statistical history. And the reason is with the various lockdowns that have happened across the state of Pennsylvania. I've got clients in Philadelphia. I've got clients in Allentown. My favorite place to stay in all of PA is in Fogelsville, Pennsylvania, a little place called the Glass Burn Inn. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's definitely a destination for romance, for some good food and a good time in Fogelsville. Unfortunately, I've never been there with my wife, but it is romantic I promise you that, even if you're there, by yourself. Times have been tough, and not every single business is back to work, but almost everybody is in some various capacity. So, what do we do to potentially get them back? The first thing we have to do is control the narrative. There was a time, friends, we lost control of the narrative, and it still plagues us today. That was when somebody out there, I don't know who it was, somebody out there said nobody reads the paper anymore. We lost control of that narrative. We didn't know what to say. And so that narrative resonated. The problem with the narrative that resonates, especially if it's a bad narrative, is that we got to work really hard to change it. Our conversations right now, as we control the narrative, it should really be about rebooting, replanning, relaunching, rebounding, bouncing back, getting back on track, or something along these lines. I have a little tally sheet over here that I keep track of. My hope is simple, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser. I'd like to help you recover a portion of what you've lost over this last 218 days of COVID, or whatever it means to you in Pennsylvania, however long it's been that you've been locked down, or your community or your situation. If you don't control the narrative and you keep talking about doom and gloom and letting your advertisers talk about doom and gloom, you lose control of the narrative. It's our job to stay positive. It's our job to be empathetic. But these are the phrases that I'm using in my sales sheets, in my conversations, in the pieces that I'm putting together, the email blasts. I'm talking about rebooting, replanning, relaunching, rebounding, bouncing back, getting back on track, those types of things. In our next session, we're going to talk about objection handling. I've got, for some businesses, I'm good. COVID has killed me. I had to lay off people. How do you expect me to advertise? Facebook's good. I'm good with Facebook. We're going to handle all those objections next. Controlling the narrative is really about just doing that. And that is you as an individual controlling the words and things the words and phrases that you use. And that's where the controlling the narrative piece, comes out. Number two, and if you got questions, chat them across, friends. Happy to answer all your questions. Number two, you've got to be careful how you start these sales calls and when you're picking up the phone to call people. Super common when you're picking up the phone to call somebody, especially if you know them, to say, hey, how you doing? How are things going? You got to be careful about that, because some businesses are back rocking. Exterior home type of things, landscaping, roofing, siding, HVAC, those types of outdoor type things are back rocking in pretty good fashion. And a lot of them were essential and didn't really get shut down. So probably pretty safe there. I'm careful how I start the call, because when you're calling somebody to set an appointment, first of all, you're probably going to get an objection, which we'll talk about next. I'm too busy. I don't have the money, whatever. And the objections have just gotten more fine-tuned. The objections you're getting now are probably similar to what you got before COVID, but they're just more finely tuned. It's like advertisers got together and were like, ooh, what can we object to now to keep that newspaper person out of my office? We'll talk about that next. But when I'm starting the call, I want to be careful not to say, how are you? Now, I recognize that that's common nature, but we've got to be better than that. Instead, I'm saying things like, of course, I'm being empathetic, friends, but I'm saying things like, hi, John, good news. I've got some ideas to help you recover some of what you've lost over this last 218 days of COVID. Do you have a quick second for some new ideas? Something along those lines. It's that little twist in narrative, friends. I know it seems simple. I know it does. But I have the opportunity to listen to literally hundreds of sales calls a year for my clients. And even though I say it, people still do it. Oh, hey, John, how you doing? How's business? Yeah, typically not the best way right now to start the conversation for most folks. Maybe something like this. Hi, Jill. I've got some good news to share. This could be in live or on a voicemail. We have some new and affordable marketing ideas to help you bounce back to business. Do you have a quick second for some new ideas? There's a couple things psychologically that are great about this kind of introduction. One, it really floods the conversation with positivity. Okay, we got to control the narrative. Two, talks about new ideas. Three, it talks about recovery, bouncing back, rebooting, etc. Voicemails, or when you get somebody on the phone, friends, you got to stay positive. If you're not positive, they're not going to come to the call positive. Nobody woke up this morning and said, man, I hope Riot Dohrn calls. I want to buy 12 months of print ads. Nobody said that this morning. It'd be awesome if they did, but nobody did, I promise. So we got to work. This is a job. If it wasn't a job, it'd be called vacation, and I'd be in Grand Cayman or in the Bahamas or something like that. It's work. So what can we do to be better at our jobs? Notice I didn't say work smarter and not harder. People say that all the time. Ryan, what's the silver bullet? I want to work smarter and not harder. I'm like, man, me too. Here's the thing, friends. You're going to have to be a lot smarter now than ever before. Your sales game is going to have to be finely tuned. That's why we're here today. Your sales team is going to have to be finely tuned. Your sales brain is going to have to be finely tuned. It's tougher now than ever before, friends, to sell advertising. So because of that, that's why we're here today. All right, number 3 is being prepared for the 3 most common objections from advertisers. So I'm going to show you the objections, and then we're going to come back to this and cover them next. I have no budget. All spent. I'm good. What does that mean? I'm good. And then my Facebook page works for me. I'm good. Pretty much all in with I'm good. So we're going to come back to those here in our next workshop and cover all of those objections for number 3 there. Okay. That's just a little teaser to keep you around. There we go. Number 4, not all marketing is about new business development. I want to pause here for a minute. Okay. We're 17 minutes into this. 10 minutes of it was preamble from Mary and myself. We're 17 minutes in, and this is one thing I really want you to stop and make note of. I've been in the market for 25 years. I don't need to advertise. Not all marketing is about new business development, friends. It's a super important conversation. It's a conversation you have to have with every advertiser when you hear something like this. The reason it's important to recognize this, friends, is because most advertisers see us as a new business acquisition strategy. They don't see us as a retention strategy. They don't see us as a way to help them protect their turf from competitors, etc. They see us as when they need new customers or when they need customers, they call us. What's interesting about this point is that most successful businesses, according to the Small Business Administration, will spend between 5 and 7% of their gross on next year's marketing. Well, because 2020 has been such a bad year for most businesses, that number is probably going to be pretty small. We've got to encourage them to recognize not all marketing is about new business development. Think about it, friends, and share this point. It takes 5 times the money, 5 times the energy to get a new customer. You're about 60 to 70% more likely, you as well as your advertiser, to sell to somebody that already knows them, to sell to somebody that's already bought from them before. Friends, if you let advertisers force you to be the new acquisition king or queen, that's it. You're limiting yourself. Advertising is not just about new business development. It's about retention, protecting your turf, making sure that the competition stays at bay. Be thinking about that. We'll talk about it more here in just a second. Not all of it is about new business development. As a matter of fact, when we did a 10-brand study, and I found this on eMarketer as well, not all marketing is about new business. 25% of marketing is about brand maintenance. It's about protecting your turf. So, friends, when you think about it, you've really got to recognize protecting your business for most business owners is not something that's top of mind. So you've got to really think through that. And we'll come to your objections here in just a second. So I see one that's popped up in here. We'll come to that one, if you don't mind, here in just a couple of minutes. One of the things I ask when I'm working with businesses that have been around for 25, 30 years, I like to ask them this question. How much do you think you've spent marketing getting your business to where it is today? How much money do you think you've spent? They're not going to have a good answer for you because they've never thought about it. Nobody's ever asked them this question. How much do you think you've spent marketing getting your business to where it is today? It's hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lot of cases. So that leads me to the gentle understanding, or helping them understand, that new business isn't about marketing isn't about new business development only. It's about marketing in general and protecting yourself and brand maintenance. Super important. That phrase, brand maintenance. A lot of times advertisers want to run branding ads. I like to run brand maintenance ads. Branding means you're not getting much out of it to most people. Brand maintenance sounds different. Write that down. Write it down. Brand maintenance. Because when you maintain your car, you get something for it. If you just run a branding ad, it's like, I don't expect much. It's branding. You should expect a lot from it. brand maintenance. That's one of the coachable moments of the day. I found this especially for businesses that have been around forever. It is always more cost effective to lead the pack than to fight from the back. Hey, you're familiar with NASCAR up in Pennsylvania. When you're out in front, it's just a matter of keeping the pedal to the metal and staying in the right groove and just staying out front. It's always easier to stay out front than to fight from the back. A lot of businesses, even in small towns, don't recognize all it takes is one little whippersnapper to pop up on a corner, offer a cheaper product at a cheaper price, and a business owner will be in trouble. A lot of it is about protecting your turf from Amazon. If people would have done a better job protecting their turf, they might have not fallen victim to Walmart when Walmart came into so many small towns. Who would have thought Amazon would have devastated the American business landscape the way that it has? What are they doing to fight against Amazon or other competitors? Well, my product is superior. Even their product is inferior. Okay, I recognize that. I recognize your product is better. But here's the thing. People are very price conscious, especially in a post-COVID world, whatever that means. All right, number 5 is recognizing the marketing gap and being able to explain it to your advertisers. Okay, so this is Acme on the bottom. Acme is one of your customers, and it's not that they stopped marketing. They just cut back. Maybe they went from weekly to bi-weekly, or they just went to monthly. Acme cut back. They're on the bottom. So when COVID hit, Acme cut back, but Acme's nearest competitor did not. See, in business, you're racing towards some type of finish line, whatever that finish line is. And that's what the green bar on your screen represents, some type of finish line. Acme's competitor is going to get there faster because they kept advertising during COVID. A lot of businesses did, not all, but some did. And so what they did is when they kept advertising and Acme didn't, they created a gap in their marketing. Here's what's interesting. Is that Acme thinks, oh, well, I'll just spend more money and I'll catch up. No. This is a race from coast to coast. Your competitor kept right on going. They were driving 90 miles an hour and you were driving 30. Unless they back down to 30, they're going to get to the finish line before you. Your absence was their opportunity. Ooh, jot that down. Your absence is your nearest competitor's opportunity. During COVID, even if they didn't market at a volume level of 10, they kept right on going. Even if it was a volume level of 8, you were like a 3. You could spinal tap the volume to 11 and still not catch up without discounting or offering a pretty big reduction. The marketing gap is real. I like to use my hands when I'm in front of an advertiser. John Doe insurance broker. Insurance right now is actually a pretty raging category of business. Call on insurance brokers, financial planners, anybody involved in the mental health type of business, counselors, therapists. Unfortunately, it's been rough on a lot of folks. Are needing that extra mental health. I know that I need, a little help as it relates to that as well. Well, I always do, but especially in the COVID world. This bus left the station. So John's Family Counseling Center, that left the station and you backed off your marketing and they kept right on rocking in order for you to catch up at all because a marketing gap has been created. You're going to have to spend some money to catch up. Here's what's interesting. Every advertiser thinks they'll just turn the advertising faucet back on. Remember, we talked about it early on in COVID. Remember when we got together for that webinar? We talked about it like a faucet, turn it on, turn it off. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we help them recognize the marketing gap is real. A gap has been created, and they need to make up the difference. Okay, now, what about the question, though, related to what if they kept marketing and you're dealing with it in a backwards scenario? Keep the pedal to the metal. Keep right on rocking. Don't back off. See, here's what's going to happen, friends. A marketing stampede is coming because it won't be that. It's probably going to happen after the election when people start feeling a little bit better about things. Hopefully, fingers crossed, vaccine, that kind of thing. And then a marketing stampede is on. We've already seen a pretty decent recovery from such a bad, devastating circumstance. I'm not going to get into politics, by the way. So if you think I'm being political, I'm not. Okay, we left that on the TV last night or whatever it was. So recognize, friends, that a stampede is a coming. People are going to get back to, probably pre-COVID levels in some capacity here in the next few months, hopefully, for the next year for sure. If you don't think so, stay positive, friends. Stay positive. Marketing's an important piece of that entire puzzle. Number 6, buyers have been putting things off. And I know you have, I have. We put off the roofing of our house until we felt it was kind of safe to get a bid and get people back out here. South Carolina went back to business a little too early, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And so we saw a spike in COVID cases. But then again, I think people were thinking I could go to the beach and be safe. So that's what they did. So this is the perfect time to advertise. So what categories are raging? What are the big categories right now? Let me show you what they look like. And this report is freely available to all of you. And you can see the names and information there in the bottom to get this report. So I work with a group, and I'm not paid to provide this information to you. I'm providing it to you at no charge, and so are they. So I work with Pulse Sales Research, Pulse Sales Tools. Some of you know Sammy Pappert. His email address is there. He'll send you this report for free, by the way. So ad directors, reach out. All right, private tutors, that category is up 175%. They're hard to get to advertise, but if you can get them to advertise, it's up. That category is up 175% right now since compared to pre-COVID times. Landscapers up 137%. Grocery stores, home gardening services, courier and delivery services. You'd be surprised they're popping up even in small town America because people don't want to interact with others. They're having stuff couriered around. Yard equipment stores. Right now, every lawn and garden center within an hour drive of your newspaper should be advertising. Bottled water delivery. Do you offer that in your town? I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess it is. We just buy it at the store, I guess. Wine shops. Oh, yeah. When you're happy, you drink. When you're sad, you drink. Well, I mean, not everybody. Here's another. Tutoring centers up 55%. By the way, a lot of them are back online. They figured it out. Home healthcare providers. Friends, this category is big. It's a big category. Well, I called on all of them, but did you do it well? Or did you just try to sell them an ad? Did you try to strategize with them? Did you try to give them some new ideas, or did you try to just sell them an ad? House cleaning services. People that I've never, ever heard having someone clean their home are now doing it, having deep cleans of their homes. Great service. Great service. Mortgage brokers. Yeah, right now interest rates are so low that mortgage brokers are really cranking. Reach out to all of them. Mental health providers and psychiatrists. I don't know what the situation is with marijuana in your state. Marijuana dispensaries, carpet cleaning services, big time. All right, so here's the categories. Here would be my challenge. I'd love to give you a 3x3 challenge, all the reps out there. The 3x3 challenge would be find a category that you like, find 3 categories that you like, and then find 3 people, 3 customers within those categories. So ad directors, 3x3 challenge. And then there's Sammy's email address. Reach out to him, and you can also go to that address right there, that web address. So jot that down. He's a great guy. He'll be happy to send that to you free of charge. It'd be best if you're a paper, have your ad director reach out. That way that he's not getting 25 requests from the same paper. Number 7 on this topic is you've got to help advertisers help themselves. They don't know how to handle this. Mrs. Advertiser, never assume that people know the best way to engage with you. Most people need to be led. Hey, sales reps out there, if you're noticing your advertisers are running pretty much the same kinds of ads as they ran before, you got to recognize that's wrong. It's not the way to do it. We're not fully engaged with folks yet. Now, whether you like to wear a mask, don't like to wear a mask, maybe you're red, maybe you're blue politically, has nothing to do with this conversation. This conversation is really all about how does Joe Public or Jill Public engage with a business? What is that business doing to explain to Joe or Jill Public what that business is going to do to keep them safe? Engaging with the business means you're taking a risk. You're taking a chance. And if you don't think that's true, it is very true. Whoops, skipped ahead. Here's the facts. The facts are pre-COVID, people didn't fear for their safety in going and engaging with a business. They just didn't. There wasn't any stranger danger out there. So stranger danger, you know what that is, right? Don't talk to strangers. Well, pre-COVID, most people are kind of a 50-50 kind of person. Michael said earlier that he's an extrovert of extroverts. You know, me too. I never meet a stranger. My parents always worried about me. Ryan, stop talking to strangers. Pre-COVID, it's like a 50-50 thing. You go to engage with a new business and you're like, I don't know you, but I'm good. I'm safe. It's not a big deal. overall trust of a business. If somebody didn't know a business before COVID, they were kind of like, 50-50. I mean, I don't know them, but I'll give them a shot. I was referred by a friend. And then pre-COVID, in any given market, Vorsight Consulting will tell us, super important, friends, look at that 5%. Vorsight Consulting, pre-COVID number. In any given market, in any given category, only about 5% of your readers are actively buying something in that category. So in the category of real estate, for example, only about 5% of your readers, digital or print, are actively buying right now, looking for a new home, plus or minus, 1 to 3%, in that category. In any given category, like automotive, in your town right now, only about 5 or so percent, plus or minus 1 to 4% differential, just like in all the polls you see. Well, what's interesting is post-COVID, that need for a product or service has actually gone up. And the reason is because people have put off buying things. Now, a lot of you fall victim to your survey of one, your survey of one. Well, I'm not looking to buy anything. I don't fear for my safety. I don't think stranger danger is out there, and I trust everybody. Well, okay, when you take the survey of one, you almost always get the answers you want, not necessarily the truth. In a post-COVID world, I mean, whatever that means. I get, fear for people's safety. Do they fear in engaging with the business? Yep. Well, I don't. A lot of people do. 60-some% of people say that they're not aware of what businesses are doing to keep them safe. Okay, and that's another Pulse Sales study question. Stranger danger. Yeah, I don't know you, so I don't know if you're clean. I don't know if you would come to work sick. I don't know you. Overall trust, there's not really any trust with businesses. Need for the product or service, though, is high. And those categories raging show you that from Pulse Sales Tools. So how do we get over this? Well, it's just important for us to recognize we're going to have to talk our advertisers through it. We've got to help them help themselves. So they've got to create perfect messaging. Now, what's interesting is this has not changed all through COVID. I gave you the same advice on March the 17th or whatever it was when we were first together. The formatting of the communication and helping advertisers help themselves is about reigniting this conversation. In everything they do, they've got to state why the potential customer is important to them. They've got to tell that customer what to do. They've got to tell that customer how to interact. Most people want to be led. Okay, there are far more, cooks in the kitchen than the head chef at every restaurant. A lot of times you'll have people say, do you want to be the chief or do you want to be the Indian? Well, there's typically a lot more Indians than there is chiefs in any given tribe. There's just one chief normally. So when you think about it, most people do want to be led or they'll fall in line. So what would the communication potentially look like for a restaurant, as an example? In the advertising, in the social posts, those type of things, is they might say something like this: "Hi, Mr. Customer. Hi, Ryan. You dined with us a few months back. We missed seeing you." How would they know that? Maybe I used OpenTable. Maybe I called. Maybe I left a cell phone number. Maybe I'm on their email database. Number two, tell them what you want them to do. RSVP now for outdoor seating, only 10 tables per night, or whatever your circumstance is, 25% capacity. I know in different counties in PA, it's being handled differently. I know in downtown Philadelphia, it's different. I've got Philadelphia Magazine as a customer. Tell them how to interact with you. All tables are 10 feet apart. Our kitchen and staff offering a sparkling clean promise. Text us now for a reservation. Here's the number. So somebody sent across the thought that I'd like to share. If you're saying we're in post-COVID now, or we're moving to, are you saying that we're in post-COVID now or moving towards post-COVID? So I can't give you a real technical answer. I can just give you my opinion. That's a good question. So my opinion is the hard part of COVID from a business perspective, not from a people being ill perspective, from a business perspective, the hardest part, in my opinion, is over. But I can only deal with what I can deal with right now. Is there going to be a resurgence in the wintertime? Who knows? I think my gut tells me that because so many people are wearing masks, that probably will have lower colds, lower flu, lower COVID. Hopefully winter won't come back. I can only deal with what I have right now. So right now, I think the hardest part for the most part is over, fingers crossed. So when I say post-COVID, I'm saying that's what we're moving into is, a post-COVID selling environment. but I always kind of jokingly say, whatever that means. Now, the person that asked this question, I'm not pointing this comment towards you. I'm pointing this towards everybody. Be careful, friends. Don't let your personal opinions, politically or otherwise, get in the way of you continuing to do business. I have advertisers right now locally that are like, fine, stop by. Wear a mask, stop by. They're absolutely fine with it. So I've got teams, but be safe. Be safe. But don't let your personal opinion overshadow what we should be doing out there, and that is helping advertisers craft the best message possible. Maybe you've got a bed and breakfast, like the Glassburn Inn in Folklesville. You stayed with us last year, Ryan, as a return guest or VIP to us. Okay. So they've created a VIP program. Book your summer stay and enjoy a free upgrade on us. Take advantage of our save the rate, change the date guarantee. Something along those lines. Tell that person how to interact. Call us as a VIP client. Call us. Every ad that's running in the paper shouldn't be a branding or brand maintenance ad. These ads should all be explaining to the general public what is the safe way that we can engage together. Now, I think we all would understand Pennsylvania is one of the states, or at least a lot of the counties, are those that are taking longer to get back to business, and probably for good measure, probably in a lot of cases. But now it's about this, recognizing that 60-some% of people out there, general citizens, don't know how to engage with the business. They don't know what the business is going to do to keep them safe. So because contactless pickup, or we'll bring it to your trunk, or whatever the circumstance is. Just remember, even if you're one of the people that's saying, hey, I think we should be totally back to business, no masks, everybody's back to school, etc. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. That's fine. Absolutely fine. But just remember, don't let your personal opinion cloud your judgment on how you're working with these advertisers. You've got to help them help themselves. They got to change the message, the advertisers do, when talking to new customers versus old customers. You've got to work with them to create loyalty programs. The Star Tribune out of Minneapolis tells us that 62% of customers say special pricing would influence them. So these advertisers are going to have to get on board with special pricing. If it's big ticket items, they need to be offering payment plans right now. They need to be proactive. And they've got to be in front of folks in multiple ways on multiple days. Here's something I'd love for you to jot down. During COVID, the midst of the hardest part of COVID, and even right now, people aren't worried about advertisers. They're not worried about local businesses. I think everybody's aware that local businesses have been harmed dramatically by COVID in general, and by some of the states' unwillingness to ease regulations in any capacity for some folks. But what I think a lot of local citizens don't realize is, okay, who's back open? Who's doing this? How do I engage with them? What does it look like? Shoot, I mean, we've been back to business in South Carolina for several months, and yet I was in getting my hair cut and was wearing my mask, and a guy came in without one, and she said, sir, you have to wear a mask inside the salon. Oh, I didn't know that. You living under a rock, sir? I mean, it's pretty common, even here in our state. So just recognize, still a lot of folks don't know how they're going to engage with a restaurant, how they're going to engage with a furniture store, etc. It's up to us to help those advertisers understand that. You can't just sell them an ad, friends. You got to sell them a plan. Jot that down. You can't just sell them an ad. You got to sell them a plan. A plan to rebound, a plan to bounce back, a plan to rebrand, a plan to reboot, or whatever that circumstance is. Circumstance is. Number 8, friends, and chat your questions across. These are good ones that are coming through. Subject lines have got to be different. And here's we're dealing with these businesses. Post-COVID business strategy is a good one that's been working for me. Business recovery strategy. Now you could just say COVID business strategy. You wouldn't have to put post there. Customers next month, new idea, COVID marketing ideas, something like that. Keep it short. Your competitive strategy. Moving forward, new ideas, new idea for you. Subject lines, take a picture of this one, a bunch of good ones here. And then also, based on what one of your colleagues said here, if you don't feel like we're trying to sell if you don't feel like the worst of COVID is behind us, and that's your opinion, that's fine. You could get rid of post in those as well. And the person that asked that, I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. But if you don't come up with new subject lines, it sounds like what you're doing is you're just selling the way you always sold. Friends, you're going to have a new strategy. You just aren't. Those reps that are surviving and thriving right now, they've adopted a new sales strategy. You can't be going out on these calls. In our third workshop at 11 o'clock today, on our third workshop, we're going to talk about hosting sales calls that close business. It's a different format now than it was before we knew COVID, because people are in a different state of mind. So you've got to attack it a little bit differently. You can't go in there and be asking, what marketing's been working for you? None. I've been closed. Well, how about 6 months ago? It's different now. Can't ask the same questions, nor can you use the same subject lines. So I think that's vividly important. Now, when I'm writing emails, some of you have heard me say this before, and I think it's real important to let it sink in. I follow the email rule of 3 and 3, and I've been doing this for probably, I don't know. I'm prone to exaggerate. I'm in sales. You know what Mark Twain says about exaggeration? The absence of exaggeration is an absence of creativity. Lies. Email rule of 3 and 3 is all about 3 words in the subject line and 3 sentences max per email. If you need to write more than 3 sentences in an email, probably you need to call the person, probably. But then, because every ad director and publisher would want me to tell you this out there, if you're an email-only seller, you limit yourself dramatically. I know it from my own sales life. I got lazy a few weeks ago. I really did. I didn't want to be on the phone. I was just tired of being on the phone. And so I started emailing people, and my numbers slumped. Crazy part about it is one of the clients that I serve is, to sell her sponsorships is my wife. She's like, I've noticed in the CRM that we're off on sales, honey. Little marital advice. Yeah, probably don't sell sponsorships for your spouse, or your partner, just saying. 3 words in the subject line, 3 sentences max per email. All the married people are laughing. All the single folks are like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I love being married. I'm very fortunate. 3 and 3. Live it, learn it, like it. Email rule of 3 and 3. Super important piece of advice. All right, here's what some of the email templates that I'm using look like today. Grab your phone, take a picture of it, or download there in the chat, the very top of the chat box. You can go to Dropbox and download all these. Hi, Jill. And this could be a voicemail too. Hi, Jill. We're seeing some light at the end of the old tunnel over here. May I share some ideas with you as you look to reboot your business? Could work as a voicemail. Hey, by the way, in voicemails, we'll talk about it later, I never leave my name, rank, and serial number first. I never say, hey, Jill, it's Ryan from the Daily Herald calling. Beep, delete. Hi, John. Second one on the page. Hey, John, got some good news to share with you. Our website traffic is really spiking. May I share some ideas on how we can work together as you look to get back to business? Hi, Kathy. I see your competitor ACMS has relaunched their marketing efforts. Let's strategize about your bounce back plans too. And we'll get to those objections too about people that say, hey, I'm good. I'm good. Now remember, now with voicemails drive email replies. It's critical. So I don't say my name first. I don't ask them to call me back, because they're not going to call you back. Advertisers that don't know you call you back. Now, come on now. Let's be real with each other. So what I do is I use voicemail to drive an email reply. Hey, Bill, sent you an email, subject line, red toaster. And I've got some ideas for you. If you could just reply back to my email, I'd appreciate it. You don't need to call me back. Oh, by the way, it's Ryan over the Daily Herald calling. You don't need to call me back, but if you could pop me a quick reply to that email, brother, I'd appreciate it. Or whatever you would say. Maybe you're not like Hulk Hogan saying brother all the time. I don't ask people to call me back because they don't. And it's not just me, it's people in general. They don't want to call us back. Well, they call me back. Okay, send me your secret. If people that don't know you call you back after you've tried to sell them an ad via a voicemail or an email, and they do call you back, that's a rare exception. If you get that happening a lot, wow, let me know what your secret is. Idea number 9 as we push towards our first break here. Marketing is not the same as magic. So I'd like to ask people, so what date do you hope to see some recovery here with your business in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What does this kind of mean to you? What does this look like? Because marketing isn't instantaneous. One of the worst things you can do as a salesperson, specifically in the newspaper business, is sell marketing as magic, that things are magically going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. Look at the marketing director from Williams-Sonoma, marketing director from the Tennessee Titans, guy that I know well. He's saying, hey guys, you're going to have to put somebody's brand in front of their customers' eyeballs like 40 times before they begin to pay attention, because nobody's paying attention right now. They're paying attention to politics. They're paying attention to the debates last night. They're paying attention to their kids' online schooling, things like that. Marketing isn't instantaneous, and it won't be in a post-COVID world either. Again, whatever that means. Marketing is not the same as magic. It won't happen instantaneously. I mean, unless you're willing to offer 50% off, which most businesses aren't. Well, I ran a 10% off ad, but no one came in. 10%? 10% is laughable. I mean, I wish I could say that to an advertiser. If you really want to move the needle, it's got to be ram-dazzle, like buy one, get one, love seats. That's going to move the needle quickly. Marketing's not magic. Stop trying to sell magic. You're not David Copperfield. You sell marketing. Marketing takes time. It takes patience. It takes an investment, and it does work. Marketing does work. Share success stories of your other advertisers. Vividly important. Every time I'm on a call, and we're going to talk about it here in our 11 o'clock hour together. And that's all about just selling with success stories. I don't even hardly have to get out the media kit. If I have the paper in front of me, I'm able to talk about happy advertisers, and that's how I sell media, because marketing's not magic. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes an investment. It does work. Look at how it works for all these other folks. All right, last but not least, as we push towards our first break here at 9:50, what's your plan? What's your sales plan? If your sales plan tomorrow is not radically different than your sales plan was yesterday, and you're not making goal, you might need to change a few things up. Think about it. So now, if your sales plan is rocking right now, if you're over goal, you're happy with how everything's going, well, don't make any changes. That would be silly. Don't listen to Ryan Dohrn. Don't listen to anybody. Keep right on doing it. But if you're not at goal, you're not happy with how things are going, you might need to make a change to your sales plan. What are the 3 things that you're going to take away from this webinar today, or the 3 things you're going to take away from our 3 hours together? Here might be something to consider. Maybe try to get one thing out of every hour that we are together today. All right, so here's what I want to do as we wrap up. Let's see what you're learning today. All right, everybody, go over to the chat box, go to the chat window. All right, and so I would like you to chat in there. What's the one big takeaway from our first hour together, our first 50 minutes together? Put that in the chat box and share with your colleagues. And then we're going to get here in a few minutes. We're going to get to the comment that I run into that in a small town here in PA. An appliance shop once told me, people know we're here. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. All right, short email strategy is good. The hamster wheel. I call it the hamster wheel from hell, Bob. People always say, what are you going to do to slow that hamster wheel down? Good luck with that. Hey, Jack, you took away a good one. Brand maintenance. Yep. 60% don't know how to interact with advertisers. Yeah, that's from Pulse Sales Tools. It's a good piece of information. Email rule of 3 and 3. Sharon says most people want to be led. Sean says marketing is not magic. Yep. Oh, Bob, that was a good one too. Your absence is your nearest competitor's opportunity. Everybody being positive up front. 5 times the money, 5 times the energy to get a new one. Brand maintenance. Yep. Controlling the narrative. Big one. Subject lines. Hey, Bob Smith, looks like you liked everything in the webinar today. That's awesome. 3 by 3 in the emails. Be careful how you start the call. Super important. I'd like to help you recover. Oh, this is a good one, Paul. I'd like to help you recover a portion of your business that you lost over this last 200 days. Protecting your turf. Brand maintenance. A lot of people like that one. It's different than branding. Branding sounds like a zero-sum game. Brand maintenance means you're getting something for it. So good one, Zion. That's good. Amanda, protecting your turf. Good. All right, friends, so here's where we are. We're at 9:50. We're going to take a 10-minute break. When we come back, we're going to handle all of your objections. So get your objections ready to put them in the chat box. As a matter of fact, you can chat them across now if you want to. And we'll be back here in 10 minutes with your objection handling. So I'm going to go refill my coffee, and we'll be right back here, friends, in 10 minutes. So at 10 o'clock, we'll start back with objection handling. All right? Okay, friends, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Good job, everybody. All right, friends, chat your questions across in your objections in the chat box. We've got a couple that were sent in via email. So we'll answer those as well. Glad to have all of you with us here for hour 2 here of the America East Virtual, if you will, and Pennsylvania Press. Glad to have you here, friends. If you missed all the preamble earlier on, my name is Ryan Dohrn, and glad to be here. For 30 years, I've been doing nothing but sales and marketing, other than 2 weeks in the cell phone business. Should have stayed. Love the media business. All right. So, friends, where are you going to find objections? The most common place? What's most common? People always say, oh, in meetings. I get the objections in meetings. Negative, my friends. You must not have been selling very long. The place you're going to get most objections most of the time is when you're appointment setting. Right on, Michael. Appointment setting. That's where you're going to get it. When you're calling people or emailing people to set appointments. All right. So keep your objections coming across. We're going to answer most of them. So you're reaching out to somebody to set an appointment. That's where you're going to get most of the objections, the first stage of objections that you're going to get. Now, we're going to set agency business aside, friends, because I know that a lot of you are not in the agency space. We're dealing with agencies. We're going to talk about local business owners, regional business owners, statewide business owners. Now, it's not that these strategies wouldn't work on an agency. Not saying that. What I'm saying is that in most of your cases, that's going to be a smaller percentage of your business than other cases. Okay, so let's talk through some of these, and then we're going to rock through yours as well. Remember, friends, all throughout the year, we're putting up all kinds of free information for you. So let's make sure we're connected over on Facebook, Ryan Dohrn Live on Facebook. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, we need to do that today. Send me a LinkedIn request. We'll link up together. We can recommend each other. And if you're a tweeter, we're over on Twitter as well. Love to connect with all of you. Okay, so here we go. One of the first things all of you need to do is something that you don't want to do. One of the first things you need to do is something you don't want to do, and that is create word tracks. It's critical. What's a word track? A word track is like a script that you don't read. Does that make sense? A script is something you'd read verbatim. I don't like scripts. Scripts sound scripted. Word tracks are different. Word tracks are your thoughts on a particular objection or how you would handle something. That's a word track. A word track is more like a guide so that you can riff, a guide so that you can, be a little bit more impromptu, if you will. You can improv a little bit. Now, if you want to write a script, that's fine. But in my opinion, you want to create a word track for every objection. I'm going to show you what they look like. So as an example, if the objection was, I'm good, okay, the word track, my response would be good as in, and then you've got to shut up and be silent. Now, I think one of the things that's going to be hardest for almost all salespeople to do is that simple right there. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. Shut up and be silent. There's a reason that so many of you sleep with a fan at night or a sound machine, because in sales, we talk all day. So when we stop talking, our ears ring. Some of you are laughing right now. When I first met my wife, I was doing radio, selling radio, and was on the radio as a DJ. I've slept with a fan the whole time, my entire life, because I've done nothing but run my mouth for a living. She's like, this fan thing. Oh my goodness gracious, Ryan, this is just ridiculous. It's terrible. It's noisy. I can't sleep. It wasn't, but let's see. Well, yeah, last week I was in Denver speaking at a conference, and the fan, the bearing went out in this old fan that we have. And first thing she said, that bearing is just driving me crazy. I said, I thought when I left you didn't sleep with the fan. She's no, I can't sleep without the fan. Shut up and be silent is part of the great ability to handle an objection. Advertiser, I'm good. Good as in, let them tell you, oh, we've got enough business. Let's say it's a roofer. We've got enough business. Great. Sounds like we need to move you from a new customer marketing plan to a thanking your current customers plan. I mean, you do want to thank your current customers, right? You want to thank the people that got you here, right? You want to thank the people that got you through COVID, right? It's a good word track. Now, you might need to modify these for your own flavor, your own personality. I tend to be a moderately jovial kind of person. When I'm in the UK, they call me cheeky. You might have to Google that, what cheeky means. It means you're sort of rude, but it's not intentional. Sounds like you need to move from a new customer marketing plan to a thanking your current customers plan. You do want to thank your current customers that, helped you get through COVID, right? It's hard for them to say no to that one. I'm good. Good as in, let them guide you through the conversation. Next one I get a lot is this one, or something like this. Some of you have chatted this across. I cannot pay my rent, much less advertise, or something like that. We've got a bunch of different ones that are similar to this. So my response is, well, what about some good news? Now, I do have a colleague I'm working with. What he says when people say an objection that's kind of angry or real negative, he'll say, well, the good news is I'm not calling from the IRS. That's the good news. People usually laugh. If you're not funny, though, don't try to be funny. There's nothing worse than somebody that's not funny trying to be funny. Some of you probably feel that way about me. What about some good news? Okay. All right. We've been working with Bob's Bait Shop, and they're recovering a lot of what they lost during the prime height of COVID. They are seeing some results after a few months of marketing with us. I've got a couple ideas to help you bounce back from this. How about I just quickly show you some marketing ideas that are working for others? Now, someone chatted across to me privately that I must not be aware of what's happening in Pennsylvania. I am vividly aware, actually, of what's happening in Pennsylvania. No offense intended. I work with CBS3 in Philadelphia. I work with Philadelphia Magazine. I work with the IDP group that's out of Allentown that's got magazines and newspapers across Lehigh Valley, et cetera. So I'm aware of how businesses are open or not open in Pennsylvania, and love my business owners in Pennsylvania, my clients that are there as well. I don't see why any of this wouldn't apply, in my personal opinion, but that's just my 2 cents. I'm just one guy, give an opinion. This is all about success stories. So if you've got an advertiser that stayed with you during COVID, I think it's important for you to use those success stories as you push through these objections. Now, someone also chatted across privately about a lack of empathy. And so it's not that I don't have empathy for the business owners. I do. But what I find is that when I get overly empathetic, sympathetic with them, then I find myself being pulled into the mire and the muck, and the conversation is negative. So I try to stay on the positive side of a pretty tough conversation. But good point. This person chatted across to me privately, so I don't want to say their name. Valid point. I don't want to come across as being unsensitive. I don't. But I do want to share some good news with them. And if I don't know them well, quite honestly, digging into their personal business is probably not the best avenue for me to go anyway. I've been working with Bob the Builder, and they're recovering a lot of what they lost during the prime height of COVID. Now that you're bouncing back to business, folks are seeing some results after a few months with us or a few weeks. You can tweak these as needed. I've got some ideas to help you bounce back from this. How about I quickly show you some marketing ideas that are working for others? Let's work on this together. I think that might be a great way of expressing empathy. I'm here to work together. I just find, friends, that if you get into the negative conversations, it's very difficult to get back out. Oh, good point. Okay, somebody chatted across. A lot of you are going private here because you don't want me to say your name. Good point. The point that one of your colleagues is trying to get across, and I want to share this with you, is that when you want to come across as being positive, one of the things that you can say to them is, hey, I'm really seeing some businesses popping back up, and I'm really thrilled to be here helping businesses like you get back to work. It's a good way of handling it. Sounds empathetic. Yep, it's good. How about this one? And this is one that some of you sent across. We're cutting back on marketing until this pandemic is over. We're cutting back on marketing. So my response, my word track. Now remember, a word track guides you. A script is what you read. My response, I can certainly understand your concern. But when you say until the pandemic is over, if you don't mind me asking, well, what does that mean to you? I had somebody yesterday that said, well, I'm not going to advertise until after the election. I can certainly understand your concern. The political climate out there is a little dicey, right now. So what do you think is going to happen after the election or within the next couple of months after the election that's going to make a difference in your advertising plan? Well, if they said back to me, well, until the pandemic is over, like until we have a vaccine or whatever the circumstance is, my response, my concern is that we have a moving target here, and it's super hard to predict. Because advertising doesn't produce instantaneous results, it works, but it's not instant. People need to see your ad over and over and over again before they react. Other business owners like you are keeping their names out there. So when a customer is ready to engage, they'll think of you first. Maybe you're one of those businesses that can't really fully open until, for several months. The key is being top of mind. When people decide to do business, are you the business they're thinking of? Ooh, that goes back to the old days at TOMA, TOMA, top of mind awareness. Why did we stop preaching TOMA? I didn't. I know some of you didn't. People don't make instantaneous decisions. That's why marketing doesn't instantaneously work unless they're selling a rock bottom product at a rock bottom price, or a great product at a rock bottom price. Typically, instantaneous results doesn't happen that way in almost all cases. So that's how you might want to think about that particular one. All right, so this is pretty common. It's been chatted across a bunch of times. I have no idea. All spent. What about Bill's Bait Shop and Julie's Interior Design and Bob's Flower Shop? Then you got to be silent now. Typically, they'll say, what about them? Well, I truly feel that your absence is their opportunity. They're seeing results after a few months of marketing with us. How about I quickly show you some marketing ideas that are working for others? Now, I don't want to miss this one little point here. Hey, friends, I think that you could use this response for any objection. Any objection. So whether they said I had no budget, whether they said my budget's all spent, whether they said I'm holding off, wait until after the election, wait until the pandemic's over, blah, blah, blah. I have no money. I can't pay my rent. I think it's important for us to share examples of other advertisers that enjoy working with us and have kept right on advertising during COVID, or have come back online here in the last couple of weeks, couple months. I truly feel your absence is their opportunity. A marketing gap. Remember the marketing gap from class 1, from workshop 1 here at 9 o'clock this morning? A marketing gap has been created, and that concerns me. I've got a concern. May I share my concern with you? Sure. My concern is that a marketing gap has been created between you and the nearest builder here in town, or this plumber and that plumber, or this insurance broker and this insurance agent, or whatever. I want to help you with that marketing gap. They kept right on advertising. They weren't a volume 8 or 10, but they were volume 5 and you're a 3. I can help you with that. Let's close that gap. Let's close that marketing gap. Now, keep in mind, some of the things y'all are chatting over to me, I appreciate it. Some of the things are so specific, it's going to be a little difficult for me to answer because I just don't exactly know, your community, but I'll do my best. All right, so this goes back to the very first objection that came through in our 9 o'clock hour. I have been in business in this town for 25 years. Everybody knows me. No need to advertise. My response: what about protecting your turf? Normally, the advertiser will be like, huh? My response: I have a concern. May I share my concern with you? I've never had it, not one time, friends, has an advertiser ever said, no, keep your opinion to yourself, ad rep. I have a concern. May I share my concern with you? Sure. My concern is that you've spent literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing your business and building your business, yet I'm not seeing you spending any money protecting your business from competitors. Now, well, I don't have any competitors here in our town. Well, what I've observed is that people will travel approximately 1 hour to save as little as $200. I don't have any data to back it up. I don't have any data on that. I just know the habits of myself, my family, my brothers, my mom, my dad. Okay, so this is a good one because a lot of times you're in a small enough town where people don't have many competitors. So I want you to go over to the chat box real quick and answer this question for me. You, meaning you as a person, okay? How far would you drive to save $200? Chat it across. How many miles would you drive to save $200? Chat it across. Jack says you have to drive an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, an hour. How about this? How far would you drive to save $1,000? How far would you drive to save $1,000? How many miles or how many hours would you drive to save $1,000? 3, as far as it took. Sean, that's great. Couple hours. Okay, so that's great. 4 hours. That's great. 4 hours. 4 hours is pretty standard. You guys want that money. Just think about this, friends. There's a thing called a radius of discount. There's a thing called a radius of savings. Kind of the same thing. So if you're in small town America, like some of you are, okay, some of you are in bigger towns, I get it, small town America, and you were to take a map and you were to draw take a compass, put a circle around your town, how far would that go? How far would an hour go? How far would 2 hours go? So if somebody in your town is the only game in town, people right now are going to be more price conscious than ever before. Would you agree or disagree? Come on. Of course, people are going to be more price conscious now, especially if they've been furloughed. I mean, there's not anything good per se that's come out of COVID, other than my mom now knows how to run a Zoom call, which is great for keeping her connected with her grandkids. I almost said grandbabies. But what we recognize now universally is that people that were furloughed for the most part are getting back to work. Unlike the 06, 07, 08, 09 recession, when people were flat out let go with no job in sight, no job to go back to. It's a little bit different circumstance. But people are price conscious. So because of that, people will drive further for a discount. If you don't point it out to your advertisers, this thing called the radius of discount or the radius of savings, they won't realize they actually have more competitors than they think. Now, maybe it's just though a circumstance where somebody is just arrogant. Remember now, there's 3 different types of buyers out there: ego-driven buyers, logical buyers, and emotional buyers. So when you're handling objections and when you're meeting with people, don't forget you've got to recognize who are you and who are they. So if you're an emotional buyer and they're a logical buyer, you're a mismatch right from the beginning. You've got to match them. You have to mirror them. An egomaniac, somebody would say, I've been here for 25 years. No, everybody knows me. I don't need to advertise. That's pretty arrogant. That's not logical. That's pretty emotional, pretty arrogant. So then I need to point out to them, what's interesting, I have a concern. May I share my concern with you? Yes. My concern is that I know that Bob's Automotive is just 45 minutes down the road. I know you're the only game in town that's here for working on cars, but just 45 minutes away, he's going to potentially could run ads that would undercut your pricing, make people want to drive that far, offer free coffee, whatever the circumstance is. Protecting your turf is about brand maintenance, and that's about maintaining your brand. I mean, there's a lot of ways to handle this one. This is a pretty common one for folks. But here's the last thing I want to share on this. Maybe not the last thing, but the next thing to share on this. During COVID, no one's concerned about you, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser. They're just not. They're not thinking about that. Right now, people are more distracted now than ever before. That's why it's a great time to advertise. You don't think they are? People are highly distracted right now. Been in this town for 25 years. No need to advertise. Reminds me of one of those old Western movies where the cowboy is chink, chink, chink down the street with his spurs and a big old hat. Been in this town for 25 years. How about this one? I only buy ads that can be tracked. I only do things that I can track. Pretty common. My response: when customers call or stop in, do you ask where they heard about you? Of course I do, always. Well, my response: human nature is to recall the last thing that you saw or the last thing you did. 100% normal. And that's why Google or the internet always gets credit for every marketing idea that you try. If they are thinking about you and they saw your ad in the paper, what they're going to do is take their phone and they're going to Google you, or they're going to put in your address into the Apple Maps. So when you engage with them, because they're human, just the way humans operate, they're not going to say, well, I saw your ad in the paper. They're going to say, on my phone. What is that? Google. See, friends, I'm not afraid at all, not at all, to say to somebody, hey, let's talk about it right now. No matter what you do with us, the internet's going to get credit for it, because people are going to remember the last thing they did. The internet gets credit for everything. Here's something really interesting. When's the last time you searched for something completely blind? Normally, something sparks you to search for something. Most people don't just blind search in Google. You see something. You hear something that makes you think, huh, I should Google that. When you see it and you hear it, well, I heard it from my brother. Where did he see it or hear it? Saw it on TV, heard it on the radio. What's interesting is that traditional media drives more searches than almost anything else. Radio, TV, newspapers, magazines. Look at the magazine, the Association of Magazine Media. Well over 50% of searches start from traditional media. Now, don't take that stat and share it with an advertiser. You get excited about stats. Advertisers don't. They just don't. Some do if they're logical, but egomaniacs don't care. Emotional people just don't care. They want to know how they feel about it. Something to think about. The internet's going to get credit for it. All right, this one's come through on the chat box. We've been hit hard by COVID. No budget. We've had to lay off staff, that type of thing. My response, part of my word track. What's your plan to get back what you lost during COVID? What's your plan? Now, I would admit this is a little direct, so you want to be careful. Don't come across as being snarky. Ryan, I can barely pay the bills as is. Guys, I've heard this week. I can barely pay the bills as is. My response, I would totally agree. These have been some crazy, challenging times for our country, for our community, for your business. What about advertiser so-and-so? What about so-and-so? What about Julie's Interior Design? What about Bob the Builder? What about Brandon's Bar? And you have to be silent. What about them? Well, we've been helping them get back to business. They're really loving the results. I'd love just a couple minutes to discuss with you kind of what are some plans. We want to help you bounce back to business, help getting your name out there and in front of folks. Now, I'm a sales guy, and I'm trying to train you to be the best you can be. Hey, friends, I recognize some folks just don't have any money. I mean, they just don't. So I am not encouraging you to, to be one of those people that just sells through everything. I think we do need to sympathize with folks. So maybe your paper has a bounce back plan. Maybe you have an AMP program, an advertising match program, or something along those lines. One of the most important things I can share with you today, besides this topic said, ad directors, publishers, is you need promotions now than ever before. You need data right now too, but you need promotions like buy 3 weeks, get 1 week free. Buy 3, get 1 free. Probably the most popular promotion going right now in the newspaper business. Buy 3, get 1 free. People like the way that it sounds. Another one that's real popular is the buy 4, get more. Okay, buy 4, get more. What that means is when you buy 4 ads, whatever you decide, the size you decide will run for 3 weeks, and that 4th week will double the size of your ad. So if you want to have a half, we'll go to a full. If you were a quarter, we'll take you to a half, that kind of thing. You have to print the page anyway. Now, if you're going from a full to to 2 pages, that's a little bit different, but that's not as common. Remember, 62%, that's from the Star Tribune, 62% say that price is a consideration in their decision. So you need those type of promotions running right now. It's important. All right, this one came across in the chat box. Thanks for helping me keep up here. My team, in the sense, help me keep up with these. Word of mouth is my best marketing tool. Okay. There's a problem with word of mouth. You lose control of your marketing message. You're literally asking untrained people to carry your marketing message out to the masses. Are you confident that they'll say what you want them to say about your business? The advertiser. Well, yes, I am. Well, what if they had a bad experience and they didn't tell you? What do you mean? No one leaves my business having a bad experience. They would tell me. Nah, not true. In a word of mouth scenario, a bad experience can spin out of control, can spiral out of control, especially on social media. Here's my example. You ever been to a restaurant where you see the manager coming around to ask, hey, how was your meal? How was the service? And you've had like an average experience, but it wasn't bad enough to say anything, but it's sort of like, I probably just won't come back. Happened to us all, right? Happens to all of us. When my wife sees the manager coming around, she's like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I'm just hoping for a free dessert. No, I'm kidding. If I had a great experience, I tip well. I have a brother and sister-in-law that for quite some time were in the higher end restaurant business. I know what's, and they started out in the lower end restaurant business, but I know what service means and what tipping means to folks that are in the food service business. I'm a good tipper. So is my wife. We're good tippers. But there have been times when I've had a less than stellar experience at a restaurant. So when the manager asks me, I'm always truthful. I'll say, hey, your server's great, but man, that kitchen's killing them. Food's coming out wrong and slow, and wow. And I usually do get a free dessert out of it. But people do leave businesses and don't say that they're unhappy. They get home, and when people get behind that keyboard, they get evil. Have you noticed that? People get evil behind their keyboards. Word of mouth is especially not a good marketing strategy in the land of COVID. People got to be careful. This whole word of mouth thought. Well, word of mouth it starts someplace. Somebody heard about your business, about your product, about your service. Somebody heard about it at some point from a traditional media resource. Nobody woke up this morning and was like, I feel like Nike has a new kind of shoe coming out. Feel it. No, they saw it. They saw it on the Today Show. Their friend wearing those shoes, that person heard about it from somebody else that saw it on TV. Almost every thread in the game of telephone tag starts with traditional media if you track it back. The internet's always going to get credit, though, so you might as well talk about it. Word of mouth. It can be dangerous. Word of mouth can work against you more often than it can work for you in a socially media-driven world. One bad experience can cripple a local business on social media. Plus, word of mouth is slow, really slow. Do you have time to wait for the game of telephone to bring you in business? Do you not need business sooner rather than later? I tried you before, no ROI. How about that one? Yeah, I tried you guys before. No ROI. My response. When you last tried us, what was your expectation from that ad? Well, I don't know. Just maybe 25 people coming in the store. Wow. Were you offering like 50% off or something like that? Well, no. Were you told to expect instant results from that ad? Well, not exactly. You see, marketing is not magic, but it is predictable. It is a process. It's a predictable process. Could I explain to you how marketing in our community really could work for you? Could I explain that process to you? May I explain? Most people, sure. And then I explain to them how it works. It's very straightforward. Most people are not looking to do anything with anybody. Doesn't mean their brain's not banking information. You're an insurance agent. Every time you run an ad with us on TV, on the radio, etc., people are banking that information until they have a need. Once they have a need, they recall the last thing that they remember. After they recall the last thing they remember, they Google it to get the phone number. So even if you run an ad with me in the paper, even if the ad shows the phone number, most people don't do that. They say, hey, Siri, tell me the number for Universal Plumbing. Hey, there's a good example. It wasn't but just, 3 weeks ago, that we had a septic issue. Our septic tank was clogged, it was backing up. I didn't say to my lovely wife, who's like, who should I call? I didn't say Google Augusta, Georgia plumbers. I said, well, please call Universal Plumbing. Tell them to come out. I'll be off my calls at 4. Tell them to please come out. We got to get this taken care of. I didn't say Google Augusta, Georgia plumbers. I said, call Universal Plumbing. Why? Because everywhere you turn, radio, TV, cable, newspapers, magazines, is Universal Plumbing. I actually had the opportunity to meet the founder and owner, second generation, I guess now, of Universal Plumbing. Very brief, sort of funny story. There's a place, a local advertiser of ours, it's called Buck Snorts, and it is a cigar store. And I'm not big into cigars, but big enough with a couple buddies that I went to pick up a cigar. And in walks the owner of Universal Plumbing. And I said, hey, quick response, low rates. He laughed. I said, how many times do people do that to you? He has no idea who I am. I'm about to sell him an ad. He's like, oh, all the time, all the time. I said, that's super interesting. How long have you been advertising? He said, my dad gave me one piece of advice when I took over this business. And I said, oh, really? He said, you want to know what it is? I said, sure. He said, never stop advertising. Wow. I mean, literally got me emotional. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you don't know who I am. Come see the license plate on my car. It says ad sales. He said, what? He got his cigar. I said, come on, you got to check this out. On my license plate says ad sales on it. He started laughing. He said, who do you work for? And I told him. And I said, so we need to get together. He said, yeah, I tried you guys before. No ROI. Oh, geez. So then I said, when you last tried us, what was your expectations from that campaign? That worked right through this. Great guy. He's still not an advertiser, but I'll get him. Tried you before, no ROI. It's a good one. If you didn't think that was funny, I'm sorry. I just got to have fun over here. Got to have fun over here. All right. If you hear they wanted an instant result, you got to listen up even closer. Because one of the things to vividly recognize is that basically nothing instantaneously is working in advertising. It just doesn't unless your pricing consideration is through the roof. So one of the things, as you're listening to an advertiser and it sounds like they want an instant response, I like to say it sounds like you're looking for a direct response from your ad. The problem is that your product is too expensive to be a direct response product. Patio furniture, a recliner, orthodontics, insurance, real estate, those type of things. Most of those products are too expensive to be considered a direct response product. Now, flowers, for example, different price point, although flowers are crazy expensive. Just got some for my mom, like $39 for a small bouquet, not even featuring delivery for free, So you got to always be thinking the person that you're dealing with, are they selling a product that's priced to be a direct response product that would elicit a direct response, like people would jump off the couch to respond? The answer is probably no. So be listening for that. Restaurants, a little bit different. Restaurants right now should just be telling people what they're doing to keep them safe. Whether it's pickup, whether it's contactless, whether it's putting pizza in the trunk, whether it's 25% capacity, I think somebody said, but that's different in certain counties in PA. A lot of the products are too expensive to offer a direct response pricing structure. So even though I'd love for advertising to work just like this, it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. I like to tell people all the time, you grow your reputation by affiliation, good or bad. This paper has been around for 55 years. For 55 years, we've spent millions of dollars building an audience that will accept your ad as a part of the experience. I'll say that one more time. This newspaper has been around for 55 years or whatever, 100 years, 30 years. We've spent literally millions of dollars creating an audience that accepts your ad as a part of this total experience. In a lot of your cases, they pay for it. They pay for the paper. They're paying for your ad to be delivered to them, and news as well. Not everybody. Some of you are free. It's cool. It's great. On-demand delivery. I get it. Unique challenges there. People pay for it, so they appreciate it. Objection. We only do digital. Okay, I've seen that one twice in our chat. Yeah, we only do digital. My response, oh, that's great. We love digital. I've got several digital marketing ideas that are working for Julie's Flower Shop, Bob the Builder, Brandon's Bait Shop. Could I share those with you? Throw it right back at them, because almost all of you have digital opportunities in one way, shape, or another. Now, this is different than Facebook, though. Okay, we're going to get to Facebook in a second. A lot of you threw Facebook up in the chat window. Facebook is different than digital. Now, technically, is Facebook digital? Yes, but Facebook is social. You need to separate those two things. Social is Instagram, social is Facebook, social is Pinterest, social is LinkedIn a little bit. Okay, digital is website advertising, e-newsletters, webinars, sponsored content, promotions, like the promotions you might do with a company like Second Street out of St. Louis, like Hometown Heroes, nominating incredible kids. That's all digital. Those are digital. So when I'm talking with an advertiser, it's important to separate out digital and social. Remember now, a lot of your advertisers can barely run their own business, much less make good marketing decisions, right? So you got to think about that and recognize we love digital too. Now there's digital and there's social. Digital's different. I've got some great digital marketing ideas that are working. You have to name drop, though. You've got to name drop. Some of you are going to struggle with that. You got to be a name dropper in this business right now to sell. Why? Well, because a lot of you are basing your past business on relationship selling. The problem is relationships are hard to build in the world of COVID. They just are. It's harder to build a relationship with a mask on, not going to their office, being on Zoom all the time, things like that. You got to name drop. You've got to talk about the advertisers things are working for them. Now, you don't need to give intimate details about the results of those campaigns, but you can talk about how much an advertiser loves you. This is probably the most common thing that came across in the chat box. We're going to do our best to get to as many as possible. My Facebook page works well for me. I love to hear that you believe in marketing on social. We love social media too. We probably don't, but the issue is that nearly every business is competing for eyeballs on Facebook. So what are you doing to be different? What are you doing to stand out from other competitors? Well, Facebook works well for me. That's awesome. That's great. Almost every business in this town has a Facebook page. And in some way or another, those Facebook pages are working for them in one way or another. So what are you doing to be different? What about all the people that are not on Facebook? What about all the people that don't really like Facebook? Here's what's interesting. When you ask people, do you love Facebook? I find that the vast majority of people are like, not really. It's a necessary evil, or whatever they say. I know that if Facebook went away, and I own some shares in Facebook, it's been a bad investment, but I know that when it comes to Facebook, I could care less, honestly, if it went away. I don't care. It used to be fun. Now it's just negativity all the time. You could say, well, what about all the negativity on Facebook? What are you doing to combat? Because it just seems like everything is so negative on Facebook. See, I like to put in like little subtle jabs kind of in there, or little subtle jabs when they say my Facebook page works well. What I'd like to do is most people want to debate about Facebook. Don't do that. Don't debate about why print is better than Facebook. Don't debate about why print is got a better ROI than Facebook. Just stop that. I heard a trainer, and I'm not going to say his name. He's an okay guy. He's a great guy, great dad, great guy. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. Just in case you figure out who it is, great guy. But what he wants you to do is he wants you to debate with people. Now, let's talk about debates. Whether it was last night or it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever. I don't think that debating people works out for the most part. Let's just leave it at that. Debating with an advertiser doesn't work. If you've been doing this as long as I have, and some of you have been selling longer than me, debating with a client, how often has that actually yielded you a positive result? The answer is very rarely, very rarely. So instead, what I do is I love to hear that you believe in marketing on social. We love social media. Good job. Well done. The issue is that nearly every business in this town is on Facebook, competing for the same pool of eyeballs here in our community. If you're being honest, Facebook is more negative than it is positive these days. So what are you doing to stand out from your competitors? What are you doing to stand out from the crowd? And then explain that social and digital are different. So it sounds like you've got social covered. Excellent. I've noticed that Bob the Builder and Julie's Flower Shop and Brandon's Ballroom, they're all doing different things with us. They love Facebook too, but they're using us to reach people in new and different ways, especially all those people that are not on Facebook, don't care to be on Facebook. Fun fact about Facebook, were you aware that almost no one deletes their Facebook page when they stop using it? So for me, I think it's very, very important for you to recognize that Facebook doesn't have many deleted accounts. People just stop using it. And I think that's, kind of an important piece. Hey, let me throw a question in here that I saw the beginning of, and I just need to put my glasses on to read it. So Russ asked this question. I think it's a good question. You say ideas that are working for advertiser A, B, and C. I rarely hear that from customers and don't ask because I don't want them to stop advertising if they were satisfied with the results. How do you solicit positive results from advertisers without fearing that you'll lose their business? So let me explain this because this is really good, Russ. Excuse me, my nose is itching there. I am glad you brought it up. So what I do is I ethically talk about other advertisers, but I don't get their permission to do that. So here's what I would do. And some people might disagree with this, and that's fine. Disagreeing with me always makes my day more fun. If I'm working with Julie's Flower Shop, and every time I talk to Julie, she says, boy, I really like working with you guys. People say they see it in the paper. They like this. I like the digital I'm doing with you. I don't need Julie's permission to say to an insurance broker, hey, I was talking with Julie over, she loves what she's doing with us. I'm not going to give intimate results. So that's how I would handle it, Russ. I don't solicit feedback. I just know that when I'm talking with somebody, if they've been advertising for a while, they probably are happy. And so as I'm talking with them, I won't ask for a testimony or something. I just listen to what they're saying. Now, typically, and Russ, this might be different for you than other people at other papers. Typically, every paper has 4 or 5 advertisers that have been running forever. Well, those people would not keep running an ad if it wasn't working for them. And so as I'm talking with people, I'm just listening for things that they're saying, like, yeah, I liked that, or I liked this, or I liked that. But I would say, folks, out there, I've never, not one time in all the years of selling, in mentioning another advertiser, has someone said, how dare you talk about them in my office? Now I have had an occasion every now and again where an advertiser would say, oh, I know Julie, let me call her right now. And for the most part, I don't ever share a success story that's not true. So I think that's good. Jim threw in the chat box, couldn't you also ask the customer a question like, do you feel that they should only be marketing their message to that one audience? That's great, Jim. That's a great one. Let's add it to the repertoire. Friends, I like that one. There are a lot of people that are not on Facebook. It's a single audience. The other thing is, how many times do you see an ad on Facebook and go, oh yeah, that's great. I love that. Show me some more ads. People accept advertising as a part of the newspaper experience. Nobody opened the paper this morning and went, or this afternoon and went, ugh, believe there's an ad in here. They consider it to be a part of the total experience. Don't forget now, social and digital are different. All right, this is one that came through the chat box as well. No one reads the paper anymore. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Everybody look at the screen, because if I'm talking, you're not going to be able to read and listen at the same time. So I'm going to take a drink of coffee. You read my response. I'll give you 30 seconds, and then I'll walk you through the response. The objection is, nobody reads the paper anymore. Let's be honest together. Nobody reads the paper. Okay, read the response, and then I'll talk you through it. Give you 30 seconds. Read quickly. $15 seconds. $10 seconds. All right, so what you've got to do on this one is you've got to practice it. You've got to be, you really got to practice it. If you don't practice it, it's just really not going to work out for you. Okay, you really got to practice this one. All right, so here's how it goes. The automotive dealer or somebody says to me, Ryan, let's be honest. Nobody reads that paper anymore. My response, may I ask you a question? Sure. Whatever your answer is, please do not worry about hurting my feelings. Just be honest with me. Okay. Do you personally read our newspaper? The answer is always going to be no. And the reason it's always going to be no is because if somebody reads the paper, they're not going to give you this objection. It doesn't make logical sense. And if you think somebody that does read the paper would say this, I don't know what to tell you. That it's never happened to me. Do you personally read our newspaper? And you've got to be humble now when you ask this. The answer is going to be no. I continue on. It's not surprising at all for me to hear that nobody reads the paper when you yourself don't read the paper. And it's okay. The survey of one is completely normal, meaning somebody like you would say nobody reads the paper because you personally don't read the paper. But here's what I can tell you. If we published even one sentence of negativity about you or your business, your feelings would change immediately about how many people read the paper. And I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just giving that as an example. Your phone would ring off the hook. Here's the thing. Traditional media, like our paper, is not a get-rich-quick plan, but it is a tested and proven way to put your name in front of 15,000 readers every single week. So when a customer is ready to buy what you're offering, you're the business they think of first. A lot of times I'll continue on. During COVID, people have short-term memories. They're worried about their kids' online schooling. They're worried about the presidential election. They're worried about a vaccine and can they trust it or whatever the circumstance is. They're not thinking about you. But when they have a need, when that septic tank backs up, I'm thinking about universal plumbing. When I've got a need to get my car repaired, I'm thinking about Bill's Automotive. When I've got a need to get my oil changed, I'm thinking about Jiffy Lube of Conyers or whatever the circumstance is. What's interesting is there's a lot of different ways to handle this one. I have found that this approach makes more people say, huh, yeah, I just really didn't think about that. I was working with an automotive dealer. Some of you have heard me tell this story before. It's pretty straightforward. He said, Ryan, let's be honest, nobody reads the paper. I said, Bill, how about this? I'm going to run an ad for you free. All I'm going to ask you to do in that ad is put a free car that you're going to give away and your cell phone number. That's it. I'll run the ad for you free of charge. Well, why would it give away a free car? If nobody reads the paper, no one's going to call you. I promise. Give away a free car. If nobody calls you, I will literally eat my shoe right here in front of you. The guy looked at me. He says, oh, you're good. That's good. People read the paper. It's just hard for some people to admit. It just doesn't fit their personal preference. That's really, more than anything, really what it comes down to. I need to talk to my partner about this. Okay. Need to talk to my partner about this. Great. Let's set up a time to chat. I don't want to call you 5,000 times and email you 10,000 times. What about setting a time to chat, say next Tuesday after 2:00? Now, this is an important piece, and we're almost to our to a 10:50 for our next break. So we'll be breaking here in just a few minutes. Notice something I said in that one. What about setting a time to chat next Tuesday after 2:00? What I'm not doing anymore is asking someone for a very specific time to meet. It's too easy for them to decline. Instead, what I'm trying to do is prepare them for what I'm going to do if they don't call me back, which was an objection that some people put in the chat box here about getting ghosted by people. When I'm on a sales call or when I'm talking with somebody, let's set a time to chat. I don't want to call you 5,000 times and email you 10,000 times. Let's just set a time to chat quickly. Tuesday, sometime after 2:00. If your yes is yes, it's great. If your answer is no, it's okay. We'll work together at another time. So that's the biggest one for me. I need to talk to my partner about it. That's how I typically handle that particular response. Hey, let's talk about, let me unshare my screen for a second, and let's start working through the objections that you sent across. I covered a lot of them, but one of the ones, let me see who it came through from. We just got 1 minute here, and we tried to get to a lot of these today. We didn't get to all of them, but I think we did pretty good. Somebody, I don't remember who it was talking about being in Princeton. Everything is reliant upon the university. So I think that I don't have a perfect answer for you on that one, but my thought would be that something along those lines would be when business comes back, it's going to be more affordable for you to stay in front of people now in a consistent way than having to flood the market with marketing once the university is back open. Now, I think a bar or a restaurant is going to be a little bit different. I'm talking more about general businesses, but it is a pretty unique circumstance that you're dealing with. So right now, I know that my businesses, I've got 6 different businesses that they're slower than they were before, but I'm strategically marketing right now so that I don't have to overspend later once the marketing stampede occurs. So as an example, with Princeton being an example, or you're in Princeton, I guess, is that at a certain point in time, people are going to come back online and they're going to get back to business. There's going to be a marketing stampede. It's going to cost you more money to outrank others and to be louder than others in that marketing stampede. If you just advertise now, it's going to be a lot more cost effective because you're a lot further ahead. So I think that might potentially be my approach, right, on that one. I don't think that's perfect. I think that you're in a unique circumstance that others are not in. And the university is 95% closed, Russ. I recognize it. And they've dropped off tremendously. But I don't think there's a perfect answer. Being sympathetic, offering AMP programs, things like that, Russ, I think that would be, vividly important as well. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I did my best. So. All right, friends. So let's take our break here, and I'm going to read through some of these and type through some responses. I didn't get to every single one of them, but we got to almost all of them, but we left out a few of them. We'll come back. So when we come back here in 10 minutes, we're going to be hosting meetings. I'm going to give you a new format for hosting meetings. And I think it's going to be, I wouldn't say it's going to be shocking. I think it's going to be new and different for a lot of you. But if you keep selling traditional media in traditional ways, why would you expect anything other than traditional results? And we don't want traditional results. So we're going to talk about hosting meetings when we come back here in 10 minutes. All right, good job, everybody. You're doing great. All right, we'll see you back here at 11 o'clock for our next class together, which is going to be on hosting meetings. All right, friends, we'll be right back. Good job, everybody. Great questions.
This conference will now be recorded.
Objection there. All right, friends, welcome to the 11 o'clock hour here. Big thank you to all of you that have stuck around for 3 hours of training. And this is phenomenal. This is as far as I know, the only press association and group here that has put together 3 hours of training for their members. So big shout out, to Mary and everybody there at Michael, et cetera, all the folks at Pennsylvania Press and Media for putting this all together. All right, so let's talk about hosting sales calls that close business, friends. And if you got more questions, chat them across. And again, like I said, I'm sorry we weren't able to get to every single objection you put through, but we did our best to try to get through them. If you got one that's a real stickler for you, drop me an email, Ryan at 360adsales.com. Happy to answer that back. All right, so let's rock forward here as we push towards 1 hour left in the 12 o'clock hour. All right, take a look at your screen. This is a very typical sales call format. That's old school as old school gets. Got a little meet and greet, a lot of baloney there. You can ask a lot of questions to identify their needs, their goals, their desires. They're going to probably tell you exactly what they thought. So I'm not exactly sure why we're asking questions that we already know the answer to, other than that it's written in a sales book. Not really in mine, but then maybe you got some sales sheets, the media kit, you handle some objections. They're like, I have no money, blah, blah, blah. You gather information. They seem excited. They're like, yes, we should be doing that. And you're like, okay, great. I'm going to get a proposal together for you. I'll come back next week to present the proposal. You go back to your ad director. You're all high-fiving, like, yes, they want a proposal. And then you have to chase them down again. And then you create the proposal and you show them the proposal, and then they go dark. They act excited and you never hear from them again. Why is it? It's because you're selling it wrong. I very rarely have customers go dark. Almost never do they go dark. And I think it's because we're making a misstep in how we sell. And I'm going to help you correct that today. So what I like to do, and you can take a picture of it, we're going to walk through each of these things. But what I like to do is I do a thing called a 20-minute validate. So my meetings are about 20 minutes with advertisers. Guys, you don't have that much stuff to sell that it takes more than 20 minutes, unless they start talking about their cat or their vacation, which probably didn't occur. Or right now around here, they want to talk about duck hunting and deer hunting and things like that, which is cool. And there as well. Good hunting up in PA, I've heard. So the 20-minute validate is, hi, Julie. Thanks so much for the 20 minutes. Do you still have 20 minutes? I do. Okay, great. Then I'm going to set the agenda. What I'd love to do today is I'd love to share with you some examples of business owners like you that are loving their relationship with us and continue to market real aggressively. I've brought some ideas with you for you, some recommendations. We've been working with businesses like you before, so we get some recommendations for you to get you some good return on your investment. And at the end of the conversation, I'd love for you to give us some consideration and tell me what you think and ask me questions and things like that. How's that sound? Sound good? Great. Now, it's important, friends, right here at this point. Is there anything in the onset that you're hoping that you want to make sure I cover for sure, besides the price? Any things that you want me to make sure I cover, because I don't want to miss anything that you want me to talk about? And you'd be surprised the number of times they'll say, yeah, I want to talk about such and such. I want to talk about social media. It's great. Make a note of it. The next thing, I'm going to build trust quickly. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to ask my 3 top critical questions if I need to ask them. I'm then going to share my success stories. I'm then going to determine what presence they want to have in the market. And then I'm going to present my ideas right there on the spot. I'm going to come prepared with a proposal. I'm going to try to close them on location if I can. I'm going to handle their objections. And then most importantly, I'm going to set time to review the proposal. Now, I recognize, friends, that not all of you are in the specific ad sales business where you sell an ad space, you sell other things, but I think all of this stuff can potentially apply. It's a little bit different in classifieds, a little bit different in recruitment, but there are some similarities. So you'll have to make it your own in that circumstance. Here we go. Step number one, after setting your agenda and validating the time, build trust fast and ask your top 3 critical questions. Jot it down. Building trust fast and asking your top 3 critical questions. Somebody just chatted across to me privately. That's cool. That they wonder if they get a copy of this. Yeah, if you scroll back to the top of your chat box, there's a Dropbox link that is there. Let me just do it for you real quick. Let me send this. I'm going to send this over to everybody. Some of you joined us late. That's cool. No problem. So let me chat this across to everybody. This is where you'll find a copy of all the handouts, and I'll give it to Mary as well. All right, building trust fast and asking your top 3 critical questions. Here we go. How do we do it? So this is an example of a resort that one of my customers was attempting to sell to in Brewster, Mass. And so we were preparing for the sales call. In preparation for the sales call, the first thing that I did so that I could build trust quickly is look for what they're doing online. So I can see right here at the top, okay, they're doing the Google AdWords. Now, one of the tools that I use to analyze what people are doing locally, I'm going to chat it to you, is called SpyFu, SPYFU.com. I just chatted it to everybody, SpyFu.com. SpyFu.com is $39 a month, I think. Maybe share a username and password amongst your colleagues. It can tell you how much people are spending on SEO, how much you're spending on SEM, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. Hey, friends, Google AdWords are expensive. If you don't think they are, you don't know what you're talking about. The average click on a Google AdWord right now is costing, on average, $3.25. I know I'm paying $14 in some cases, but I'm not aware of many businesses paying much below $3 a click. It's pretty rare. You can find them, but it's moderately rare. So that's something I can talk about because these pay-per-click campaigns are costing the Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Club a bunch of money. All right, so they're pulling up on Google. So that's a good thing for me to know. Now I'm going to go to their website. When I look at their website, I'm looking for things I can connect with them on. Now, remember, friends, it used to be you could walk into somebody's office and go, oh, a beautiful, taxidermy piece, a beautiful stuffed duck. Are you into duck hunting? Or you see golf clubs. Oh my goodness, are you into golf? Or maybe you walk in and you see a picture of somebody's, what appears to be their grandkids. And you're like, oh my gosh, or, is that your grandkids? And they're like, no, that's my children. Anyway, you look around their office. Selling in COVID times, we're not going to be in front of as many people. We can try to the best of our ability, be safe. But in preparation for our meeting, this is what I would say. Jill, in preparation for our meeting, I saw on your website that you're looking for Ocean Edge members. I've got a great idea for that. I see that you are the new beach house spa is open. I've got some ideas for that. I see this beach walk and oyster tours. I've got some ideas for that. Would you be surprised to know that the vast majority of sales reps that I work with show up unprepared? You don't know the number of times I've been sitting in a car with somebody pre-COVID, sitting in a car with somebody where they're doing research on their phone right before they walk in. It's going to require more time, effort, and energy than that, friends. Quick trust. Quick trust is something that you have to build within 20 seconds of meeting somebody. I think it might be less than 20 seconds. That's why you got to be careful what you wear when you're meeting somebody. They judge you based on just how many buttons you have. For us guys, you all the way button to the top, 1 button, 2 button. What's the circumstance? You don't have to wear a coat and tie all the time. Be comfortable, but be a professional. Quick trust. A lot of it is built around me looking, for example, over at their Facebook page. They've been the best of Boston since 2017, and they're pretty darn proud of it. It's something I could talk with them about. Looks like they're doing some stuff with social distance here. Wednesday nights, they've got the Chantel Joseph trio. Looks like they're being safe and doing some music and maybe some drinking or appetizers out at the bar. Looks like they're still doing. Now that looks like a pre-COVID wedding picture. Looks like they're still highlighting weddings on Wednesdays. So that might be a little campaign that they're doing where they're highlighting weddings on Wednesdays. We can potentially help them with that. But the first thing I got to do is figure out who it is I need to talk to. So my go-to is LinkedIn. If a business is on LinkedIn, more than likely they're a good business for me in my town. Folks that aren't on LinkedIn, I've got to ask myself, are they big enough to be worth my time? Now, some of you sell small clients. That's fine. I try to stick with a middle-sized client because I don't have time for the small ones anymore. I hate that, but typically a small client is a bigger pain in the what than a huge client. So I focus in on customers. If I can find them on LinkedIn, they're usually pretty good fit for me. So I'm going to drill in here to the Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Club. I'm going to click on their 135 employees. And here we go, right at the top. It was at the time I pulled it. I think she's left now, but Elizabeth Steffen, Director of Marketing at the Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Club. So I figured out that it's her. Now, one of the things that I would do is that as a next step to find their email address is I'd go to this website. Let me chat it across to you. I would go over to hunter.io is where I would go, and I would punch in the name of the company to determine what's their email convention. What do their emails look like? If you don't pay for the service, they'll still show you what the email sequence looks like. Like, for example, and I'll chat it across to you. In this particular case, it's probably going to be something like either Steffen at oceanedge.com, something like that. Or it's going to be Elizabeth at oceanedge.com. Probably something, or it's going to be Elizabeth.Steffen at oceanedge.com. Spell that right. Or something like that. It's probably going to be one of those three. I'm chatting them across to you so you see where I'm going with this. Okay, like that, something like that. So let me escape out of this real quick. It won't take me but a second to show you what I'm talking about. So what you do then is I can go over then to my web browser and I can go to hunter.io and I can type in here Ocean Edge Resort. Oh, there it is right there. Click on it. So it tells me that the naming convention is going to be first name dot last name at oceanedge.com. So over my chat box, I know that it's going to look like this. So that means my guess of Elizabeth.Steffen at oceanedge, that one's spelled wrong, .com is going to be the right one, for me. Now you might find, that some of your folks are not on LinkedIn, and that's A-okay. That is what occurs. But I'm just saying to a lot of you, I've got three categories of customers: minnows on one end, whales on the other end, and cod in the middle. Cod is that commonly eaten whitefish. I like the cod group. Not a big fish fan, but I like the cod group because they typically stick with me longer. They don't cancel, things like that. The whales are hard to get, and when you lose them, it hurts. The minnows, I love my mom and pops, but they just, that just takes a lot of customer service time. All right, building quick trust. So we're trying to do right now. Got her email address. I know who she is. I'm going to guess, looking at the picture, she's probably in her, say, early 30s, or that's a picture that hasn't been updated in a while or something like that. I'm going to look and read about her. Marketing director with extensive knowledge of the online media market who recognizes that a business must have a multifaceted digital presence in order to succeed in today's economy. Good luck selling her a newspaper ad. We better go with a digital first strategy on this one, friends. Wouldn't you agree? Now, if you're going to build relationships with people, because that's who you are, recognize that in the COVID selling environment, building a relationship is harder now than ever before. So you might just want to wrap your head around doing it online, being on Zoom, learning about these types of things. This is how I build relationships with people quickly. I'm able to look and read about her. Look, hey, she worked at Zoo New England. I'm interested. I have a chance to meet her on the phone. Hey, this is what I say. In preparation for our meeting, I was looking on LinkedIn. And first of all, I saw that you were the founder of Hotel Week Boston, which is cool. And then that you were a marketing director at Zoo New England. That must have been a very cool job. Now, there's always a chance you could say, worst job of my career. Thanks for asking. Pretty unlikely. She's probably going to say, yeah, it was cool. It was great. Quick trust is super important. See, what a lot of you do is you get right into may I cut to the chase as to why I wanted to meet with you today, and you skip all this. And so because of that, what you're seen is as a salesperson. Remember, friends, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 2 years ago, SAP did a study of 69% of buyers. 89% of buyers, almost all of them, said they'd rather go to the dentist than talk to a salesperson. There's an SAP article on Forbes, like 89% of people would rather go to the dentist than talk to us. Are we really that hated? No, But if you ever, when someone says, what do you do for a living? You're like, oh, I'm in media sales. And they go, oh, as if it's a bad smell from a shoe. Oh, like that, These guys were crazy. I love this business. Love it. Love this business. All right. So she went to Boston University, or she's following that. I guess I could look up that a little bit closer. I'm looking for things. So I'm trying to connect with her and build quick trust. And I'm going to ask her a couple of questions. What goes down is some of the worst questions to ask, in my opinion, especially right now. How about this? What marketing's working for you? You just invited them to hijack your sales call to talk about other media. Terrible question. Stop asking that one. What marketing's working for you? What marketing are you doing right now? Come prepared, friends. Come prepared. When you wake up in the middle of the night, Elizabeth, in a cold sweat, what business challenges come to mind? Seriously, people ask questions like that. They get them out of sales books. You might want to look at the copyright in that sales book. A lot of those sales books are written in the 80s. The 80s are calling. They want those books back. I'm not trying to play hate on, Ryan Tracy or Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or somebody like that. These are mad respect for all these folks. Zig Ziglar. Just recognize, friends, that media selling is different. We have to go back to people over and over and over and over again. Be pretty careful about reading those books. I only ask questions if I need to ask them. If you don't need to ask, don't ask just to ask. Move on. But if I'm going to ask, here's the three I would ask. Number one, when you decided to meet with me, what problem were you hoping that I could solve? When you did me the honor of granting me a meeting, what business challenge were you hoping that I could help you fix? Make it your own. Make it your own. This one leads to a lot of great questions. It's so much better than, how about this one, commonly asked? So, Elizabeth, tell me more about your business. Watch out, friends, especially all of you over 48 like me. They might just say, especially if it's a whippersnapper, young whippersnapper, they might say, well, Ryan, let me save you some time. Why don't you tell me what you know about our business already? They look at you with that smile, that condescending smile, right? I got caught on it a couple weeks ago. I was late to a sales meeting. Didn't have time to do the research, and they said it to me. So Ryan, what do you know about our business? Let's start there so we can figure out, an even playing field here. Well, I'll be honest with you. I was late for the meeting. I didn't have a chance to do much research. I apologize. No, I didn't say that. I lied. I made things up. How about this question? If we could create the perfect campaign for you, what would you want to have happen? This is a great one. It's all about managing customer expectations. If we could create the perfect ad for you, what would you want to see happen? Had a guy not that long ago say, he sells expensive mountain bikes, $700-800 mountain bikes. He said, I need to move about 50 bikes if I'm going to make this work. In my mind, I'm thinking, you crazy man, you crazy man. I said, well, let me ask you this. What would one new customer mean to you? If I could bring you one great buyer, what would that person look like in vivid detail? What would that mean to you? What kind of value? If somebody buys one mountain bike, what does that mean to you? $200, $300, $400? What's the value of one great customer? Same thing applies to hair salons and those kind of things when they get back open to some level of normalcy. Think about this. Look at the bottom of your screen. I'll do a little math for you. Let's just say that you bring in one customer for a cut, color, and a styling, whatever you ladies call it. Let's just say that that's $125. I don't know if I'm shooting low or not, ladies. $125. If that stylist does a great job with that person, they're going to come in and they're going to pay them back probably anywhere. Let's just say 8 times a year, just as an example. So that one customer is worth 25 times 8. It's worth $1,000. Worth $1K. $1,000. Here's the thing, though, guys. It's super important. We're going to get credit for $125. What's interesting, though, is that if this one particular customer comes into a particular store, and then all they've got to do is tell 2 of their friends, then all of a sudden, this has become a $3,000 proposition. It all started with one ad with us. Yet, what are we going to get credit for? We're going to get credit for $125, plus we ask for credit. Oh, I'm not one of those people that likes to ask for credit. Okay, good luck. Good luck to you in the sales business. You got to claim the credit where you can get it in the newspaper business. So I'm building trust by the things I learned on LinkedIn. I'm saying things like, in preparation for our call, I learned this about you. I love this. I see you're doing this. I see you're doing that. I think it's, and you got to ask some great questions, but this is the one that I always want to drill into. Now, someone chatted across to me privately. Thank you for that. That they want to know about budget. Are you asking about their budget? And I'm going to get to that because I don't ask people their budget. It's not that I don't care. I just know what they're going to tell me. I don't have one. $50. I don't know. I don't even know where to start. So I don't ask for their budget. It's not that I don't care. I've just got another way to guide them towards an understanding of what they need to spend with me, not what their budget is. It's a great question. Thanks. We'll get to it in 1 second. Okay. Next thing that I'm going to do, number 2, is I'm getting ready to share my success stories. So this is where I don't even need a media kit. Just give me the paper and I can go and sell from that. So I'm going to open up the paper if I'm there with them live. If I'm not, I'm going to scan ads and put them on the screen. I'm going to open up the paper. I'm going to point to advertisers and I'm going to talk about how much they love working with us. Now, if it's an advertiser that's in the same category, cool. That's awesome. All right. If it's an advertiser in the same category, that's awesome. But I don't have to have an advertiser in the same category. I just want them to feel like they're missing out. Like everybody else is advertising other than you. You're missing out. And in a COVID selling world, friends, I mean, you're going to have to do that. Fear of missing out is super strong. Most business owners probably feel like everyone's pulling out. Everyone's pulling out of their advertising plans. It's just not true. You know it. You've got some customers that are sticking around. They're sticking around because they know that it's more affordable, more cost effective, rather, to stay out in front than to. You know, when I explain this marketing stampede that's going on, it's going to happen here in the next few months. People they go, oh, I didn't think about that. I know. You can barely run your own business, much less make a good marketing decision. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to say it. Now, sharing success stories is really about controlling somebody's mind. Look at the screen carefully, friends. Stare at the center of the screen. Is the screen moving now? Or the lines spinning? It's because you had too much to drink last night. Back off on the wine, ad sales rep. Mind control in America is really about helping people understand, helping you understand that if you prime somebody's brain with success and success stories, it eliminates about half of the objections you would normally get. So how do you prime somebody's brain for success? You have to first recognize how easy it is to do. I'm about to put you under mind control. Are you ready for it? If you don't like this game, by the way, you can turn away for a moment. Here's the game. The game is pretty simple. I'm going to be at the conference when we go live here, hopefully here in 2021. I'm going to ask you a simple question. I'm going to say, what color did I bring up in the webinar a year ago? What color did I bring up in the webinar a year ago? Because I want you to think of anything else in this world, friends, but just don't think of the color red. Whatever you do, think about black, purple, green, just don't think of red. Whatever you do right now, put the color red out of your mind. Put it out of your mind. Don't think about it. Stop. Stop thinking about it. I'm going to be able to ask you a year from now or whenever we get together live. Fingers crossed, it'll be real soon. What color did I mention? You're going to recall red because I primed you to remember it. That's why success stories work. And that's why success stories are my. In the media business, people honestly, they don't care about your readership, your circulation, how long you've been in business, the history of the company, that kind of thing. Here's what they want to know. If I run an ad with you, will it work? Will I get ROI? And the fastest way to prove that is with success stories. Fastest way to prove it. I open up the paper, I point to an ad. I talk about how much that person, I love them and how much they love me. I go to another ad. This person's been with us for 15 years. Every time I call on them, they say da 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 da. Now, if you don't have success stories, that's on you. Find them. But like I said earlier, you don't need to ask for testimonials. Just pay attention. Someone asked, though, when you reach out to them to renew their ad, doesn't it just cause them to want to cancel, give them a reason to cancel? Well, maybe you haven't done a good job for them. Maybe the spec ad wasn't right. Something like that, or maybe you overpromised and the ad underdelivered. My secret weapon is success stories. So what makes a good success story and limits your liability? If I'm talking with a person that sells chairs, furniture, every time they run an ad, they sell 5 chairs and they told me that, I'm not going to share that story. Next advertiser is going to expect to sell 5 chairs too. I don't do that. I talk about longevity. How long has someone been around? Now, good question. So Zion chatted across, what can a new sales rep do if they don't have any success stories? So hopefully, and I don't know your circumstance, Zion, but I would say that there should be a senior level rep that's there that you could potentially ask for success stories. Look in the paper to see what ads been running for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then use them as success stories. You can say, we have a customer like America's Bank. They've been advertising for blah, blah, blah. I have like Red Marina. Red Marina has been advertising with us for 10 years. So I think I would just use others' success stories. Now, if there's no ads in the paper, then I think the approach should have to be a little bit different, because you wouldn't have success stories to sell from in that case. We're not looking for widgets sold. Be careful about that. Talk about long-term longevity. Talk about how much you like each other, enjoy each other, those type of things. You want people to feel like they're potentially missing out. Ad directors and publishers out there, every single sales meeting when I get together, I want to hear success stories. What are you hearing on the street? What's working? What's not working? What subject lines are working? What email templates are working? And things along those lines. All right, so you want to detail out and practice your 4 best success stories as a group. They need to roll off the tip of your tongue. It is one of the fastest ways to get somebody on board to buy an ad. Nobody wants to be a pioneer. How do you tell a pioneer from everybody else on the open range? A pioneer is the one with the arrows in their back. Nobody wants to be a pioneer. Everyone says they do, they don't. They want to do what their nearest competitor did, maybe just a little bit more. And so because of that, that's why success stories work. And that's the strategy as we go into step number 3. Step number 3 is all about determining market presence. It's not that I don't care what their budget is. I just need to help them understand this simple. There is a reality to marketing in your. The reality is there's 3 different sandboxes you can play in. There's 3 different pools you can swim in, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. So here's the question that I'm asking. Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, when you think about competing in this community, do you want to have kind of a presence, or do you want to be more competitive, or do you want to dominate in this market, in this state, in this region, in this town, whatever? Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, when you think about competing with other businesses here in our area, do you want to kind of have sort of, and take your hand like this, a presence, or you want to be competitive, or do you want to dominate? More than likely, they're going to say, I want to dominate, Ryan. I want to dominate. Okay. So if you want to be dominant, and then what I do is I refer back to the paper. This is America's Bank. America's Bank is dominant. So what I do is I try to bring up some type of comparison of other businesses that are out there without talking price. So in this particular example, I would be looking at past spending of grocery stores in our area. Now, you might only have one grocery store. If that's the case, put other businesses up here. So when you say you want to be dominant, I'm guessing that you want to be dominant like somebody like Kroger, which is a big grocery store in our area. Dominant, what dominant means with us is weekly full page ads, weekly and monthly contesting programs like Hometown Heroes, nomination program, e-newsletter special sends, geo-targeting, online display, ads on our website, competitive programmatic, site retargeting, and so is that, you want to be somebody like, yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Okay, cool. Somebody like that, somebody who have a program similar to that, is about a $20,000 a year, $1,500 a month kind of proposition. Is that good with you? Does that sound good to you? Oh, wow. Yeah. Didn't know it was going to be that much. That's okay. What about being competitive? Being competitive, and whether it's HEB or it's an insurance broker or a realtor, being competitive, that's great. So if you want to be competitive, and then you open the newspaper, point to somebody. So being competitive and depends upon the category, by the way. Being competitive could mean weekly full page ads, maybe a monthly contest. We'll still do some online display for you, a little geo-targeting, and a couple of events when we're back to events. And that's more along the lines of a, say, $500-600 a month kind of proposition, about half. Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes a little more sense. But then they're going to say, what do you got? What's the lowest program you've got? Well, it's good, but for somebody of your caliber, probably not exactly what I would recommend. But it's more like weekly, smaller ads. It's a little bit of digital, a couple newsletters. It's there, but I really wouldn't push you that direction because it's in your category. It's probably not going to be enough to give you the ROI that you want. Doing these comparisons, this is called comparative selling. It's new for a lot of you. When I'm doing these comparisons, it depends upon the category. So in this category, I'm talking about grocers. I mean, you might have, let's just say as an example, the category is going to be auto as an example, or let's do something different because automotive let's do insurance just as an example. I'm writing on my screen in case you're on your email. Okay, so let's do the category as insurance. In the category of insurance, they may not need to be competitive weekly full page ads. In the category of insurance, they might be able to get away with weekly half page in the category of insurance. If they want to be dominant, they might not need full page. They might be able to do, say, 2/3 as an example. They may not need weekly inserts. It might be more like monthly over here. So you could change that. So comparative selling is about helping people understand the reality of marketing in your. Here's the problem, okay? What a lot of you do is you do this. You have a one-way conversation with an advertiser. You've read a book, and the book told you to analyze people based on their needs, to do a customer needs assessment. Well, the problem with the customer needs assessment is it very rarely identifies somebody's needs. Instead, what it identifies is what somebody. So it should be called a customer wants assessment. The customer needs assessment is it really helps you identify what somebody wants. The problem is if you give them what they want, they're happy for a day. They're happy for a week. Give them what they need and you give them what they want, they're going to cancel on you. You've got to point them towards what they need. You've got to guide them. You're an advisor for ads. You're an advisor. You've got to guide them towards what they need. That's where recommendations come into play. Google it. Almost every single sales study that I have ever read, one of the best ways to drive conversions and to get more money from people is to recommend products. Number two, comparing and contrasting them with other advertisers in that category or other businesses in your town. So they might not have a competitor in the town. So in your town, you've got a certain pool of money that people are pulling. So much money they can spend within. So even if they don't have another competitor, they're still competing for limited dollars here in a COVID world where people are kind of, battening down the hatches and being a little bit more careful about their. You've got to talk about other businesses. You've got to compare and contrast. Now, don't be unethical, obviously. I'm not going to give intimate details about what advertiser B is. There's nothing wrong with me comparing and contrasting. Okay, let's go back for a second. There's a reality of marketing in your community. There's a reality of marketing in your town, the state, or whatever. There's a reality. The reality is in your category, whatever that category is, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, in the category of jewelry, retail, this is what you're going to need to do to be competitive. It may not be what you have on the screen here, but you want to list out the things. And people love recommendations. Ryan, I've been asking the 10 tall questions that were taught when I first started, with Gannett back in the day. 10 tall questions seems to work for me. Here's my concern. My concern is that people have been asked these questions for years. And if we keep selling traditional media in traditional ways, freed or paid, we're going to get traditional results. How to step up your. Don't be afraid. This is not a time for you to be a wimp in sales. You got to be a superstar. You got to be strong. You're going to have to work out. You're going to have to put in the reps. It's going to be different. I sell approximately 40% more now than I ever sold before by using this style and approach where I share with people my best recommendations for their business. Now, if I walk in and they say, I hate print, I hate geo-targeting, I hate events, they're never coming back, I hate e-newsletters, well, then maybe I don't even pull this out. But when I give people recommendations, they almost always buy more. And I haven't even got to the price yet. That's coming. All right, so you got to ask yourself, how do these categories break out? Every category is going to be different. So let me grab my handy dandy little pen, okay? In general, okay, to be present in most small markets, it's going to be 2K or less a year, 3 to 10,000 to be competitive, 11K or more to be dominant in most markets. Now, let's just say in your market, let's talk about real estate as an example. So estate, it was tough to draw my little marker here. Real estate. Okay. In real estate, to be competitive, you might need to spend between 10 and 20K with your paper. I don't know. Your paper is going to be different. And then in real estate, it might be 25K or more, 25K plus to be dominant. And you might say, there is no present plan. Not going to work, but you could probably say 5K, 5K if you just want to have a basic presence. So you might say to yourself, hey, there's nothing present I can give them. Give them an option, though, because when we move to the pricing piece, 3 options closes more business than 2 options. I'll give it. Okay, number 4. You got questions, chat them across. Number 4, you've got to be prepared to present ideas on the spot. In the selling world, it's going to be hard enough to get a meeting with somebody. To the meeting without a proposal, well, then you're killing yourself slowly, because now you got to chase them down again to present the proposal. Well, I don't know. How do I present a proposal to somebody when I've never met with them? I don't know their needs, their goals, and their desires. Okay, friends, how many times have you been to a meeting in the last 3 months, in the last year, where you learned something that was shocking? Like, oh, I had no idea. Most retailers want new customers. Most businesses want more customers. Now, if you were selling in the B2B world, that's a little bit different. Business pub, you're still selling in a similar way to this. Magazines sell similar to this. Friends, you've got to be prepared to present ideas on the spot. Present pricing on the spot. Don't be afraid. Well, we do a lot of customization for people. All right. The problem with customization is it requires multiple meetings. When you've got to meet with people multiple times, your chances of closing greatly diminish. Recommendations based on their category, you'll almost always sell more. Well, I'm not into packages. Okay, well, let me explain how this really works. I'm presenting ideas on the spot. Here's how it sounds. Jill, it's been so great to chat with you today. And in preparation for our call, I was doing research on businesses in our area, looking at what they're doing from a marketing spend perspective. You said you want to be competitive. So I put some ideas down together, some recommendations that I have for you that have worked for others that I think will work for you as well. As I throw them, I throw them a sheet that offers my recommendations. And it looks something similar to this, not exactly this, but something similar to this. I'm going to put their logo on there. I'm going to do it. I can do it so quickly. I can make this in PowerPoint or whatever I want to do. So look, I can back out of this. I can go, if it was going to be for IGA, I can take their logo. I can go to the page. I can take the grid and make it a little bit smaller. I can take their logo and, put it at the top, to make it look like it's customized for them. And I can share it with them. And oh my gosh, look at how every category is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so you said you want to be competitive. So what it would look like in your category would be a weekly half-page ad. We'd be doing a monthly e-newsletter promotion for you, which would be a picture, a little bit of text you provide to us. We'll walk you through it. We're going to deliver for you on the website about 75,000 impressions a month. So your banner ad, 75,000 times a month. Man, it's going to be like all over the place. We'll do some posts for you on social media. Normally, that'd be about $800 a month. We are offering a VIP discount of 20. And that just allows you to kind of, that's our way of saying thanks, bonus for you. It's going to work out to be around, bucks a month. It's going to end up being somewhere around $7,000 a year. I price everything monthly. And the reason is because 600 looks way cheaper than 7,000 or whatever it is. What is 600 times 12? You do times 10, pretty easy. 7,200. When I come in with recommendations, people always pay. So you said you want to be dominant like so-and-so, this is what it would cost. To be competitive like so-and-so, this is what it would cost. To have a basic presence, this is what it would cost. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Well, I kind of want to do a little more social and a little bit less print. Okay. So we could take that down to like a weekly quarter page ad. By the way, if you're selling by column inch, nobody knows what you're talking about. So you got to sell modular sizes. Nobody sells by column inch anymore. Nobody, even agencies don't even know. When you think about it, friends, you give recommendations and people get excited. And the reason they get excited is because you're presenting it in a clear, easy to understand format. So where's the information come from? Here we opportunity to analyze 100 advertising proposals with the team. In analyzing those 100 proposals, we found that 50 of them earned business, 50 of them lost business. We looked to see what do the winning and losing proposals have in common or not in common. Let's talk about the proposals that won business. So we looked at 50 proposals basically that won business. They earned the business. People signed on. Of those proposals, of those 50, 65% offered 3 options. 65% of the earned business. Of the people that didn't give pricing options upfront in their proposal, of the lost business. So out of 100 proposals, 50% lost. The vast majority did not offer 3 pricing options. Here's the reason 3 options works. If you are giving one price, it's sort of a 50-50 chance. When you have 2 options, you actually drop to about a 30% close rate because now people are confused. They're like, oh my gosh, what should I do? When you give 3 options, people almost always choose the middle option. What you do is you design this presentation, you design your pricing plan, your options here, based on the assumption that someone's going to want the competitive plan. You make the basic plan seem not so. I'm telling you, it works. I've got newspapers large and small, all across the country. Adams Publishing Group, WIC newspapers, Western News and Information, RJ Media. I mean, I'm telling you folks, all across the country, people are using the 3 options. Now, if you want to make it a little more colorful, you can do something along these lines for smaller advertisers where you build kind of a pricing grid with check marks. But I don't do this as often. I think it worked for a certain period of time, but then everybody kind of started copying it, so it didn't look unique and different and custom. I still like it though. If I'm dealing with a small advertiser, I like the pricing grid. And the reason I like the pricing grid is it's easy. Now, I don't like good, better, best. I don't like that. I don't like gold, silver, bronze. It doesn't say anything about what they want to do in the market. Do you want to be competitive, dominant, presence? It doesn't say. Well, I used to write things out like this. Let me zoom in on that. I used to write it out like this. You can write it out as well. What I've done though is I've just evolved with the times. I've taken this is the exact same thing. You see, it looks like a lot of text, and I've just put it in a grid format like that. Change in Excel or here in PowerPoint, make it look like you did it for them. Put their logo at the top, things like that. I think it's 5. You got to do your soft close, your objections, your next steps, tweak the. But probably somebody's going to say, hey, I just need to think about it. Here's my soft close. You ready for it? What do you think? It's really kind of my soft. I think, friends, what you have to be careful of is using some of these closing techniques you read in sales books. Well, you know what you're thinking about today? Somebody else thought about yesterday. Car sales. What do you think? What do you like? What will your boss like? What will your boss not like? What do you think the price? What do you think about this? What do you be prepared to handle the objections that you're going to get? So my soft close is, what do you think? What do you think? You like it? Did I do a good job explaining it to you? What are your thoughts? And then after I answer their questions, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a time to review the proposal. That's step number 6. Setting a time to review the proposal. It's important. It's important because of the magic 48-hour sales window. Brian Dohrn, next book coming. 48-hour magic sales window. Where does it come from? Where's that idea come from? TV one night, you might have seen the TV show. It's called The First 48. Show about crimes that are committed, but it's called The First 48 because law enforcement has 48 hours to find a suspect, or their chances of catching that criminal, solving that crime drop dramatically. I thought, wonder if that would work in sales. A little dark, but it does work in sales. You got 48 hours, friends, to follow up. You present that information to them at dark 100, 0 hours. They're excited. Their level of excitement is 10. The longer it takes for you to follow up, the less their excitement level drops. The more their excitement level drops. Sorry, too much coffee. There's a point in time when you reach out, you get a little bump, but for the most part, you get a ticking clock on your hands. You've got 48 hours to get an answer from them, or they're going to go dark. I tell people it's okay to say no. I give people permission to say no. So I'll say this, it's very simple. Hey, so you need to think about it? Great. I appreciate you thinking about it. I appreciate the fact that you believe in advertising. Here's what I found out over the course of doing this 30 years. If you and I don't touch base within the next 48 hours or so, you're going to get busy. I'm going to get busy, and it's just going to be awkward. So what I'd love to do is just schedule a follow-up. If your answer is no, it's okay. We'll work together at some point. If your answer is yes, love to do business. If your answer is no or the timing's not right, just let me know. It's okay. We'll work together. Oh, Ryan, never heard a sales trainer say, give someone permission to say no. I've heard people say, never let them say. Guys, we got to resell these people all the time. We live on the hamster wheel from hell. It spins out of control. Somebody the other day said, Ryan, could you ever teach me to stop the hamster wheel? The answer is no. You can slow it down, though. You can make it easier to navigate. But if you're going to be in sales, the hamster wheel is going to spin. It spins 24/7, 365, even when you're. Got to set that meeting within 48 hours, friends. If you don't set the follow-up, they're going to go dark. Send them flowers. Send them cookies. Something to re-engage them. Set the follow-up plan, friends. And if you set the follow-up plan, you will be more successful than not. If someone won't set a follow-up with me when I'm talking to them, it means they're probably not interested. I've said to people, not a lot. I've said to people, I'm trying to set a follow-up on this, and it sounds like maybe you're not interested. Oh, no, I'm interested. I just got to talk to my committee. Death by committee. Oh my gosh, committees have been killing me for years. Death by committee. The magic 48-hour sales window, live it, breathe it. I think it's so important. I talk about it all the time. You've got 48 hours, friends, to get some type of answer back from them, or their excitement level is going to drop off the charts and they're going to ghost you. And don't be afraid to say, it's okay. If your answer is no, it's okay. Just let me know. Just let me know. You're a bunch of nice. It's no wonder people ghost you. You know, because you're nice. You're kind. Nobody wants to tell a nice person. You got to let them know. Last thing I do, though, this is so important, friends. So please jot this down. I say this for we don't connect next Thursday. So you said Thursday after 2 o'clock, right here. I got it on my phone. Don't connect next Thursday. The best way to re-engage with sting, carrier pigeon, smoke signal. I do say that, by the way. Normally people chuckle. You're a cold-hearted person. I'm telling you right now. So yeah, drop me a text. Yeah, that's cool. But don't worry about it. I'll be there. See, what I'm trying to do is psychologically put in their mind, like, if you stand me up for this date, I'm going to text you. I'm going to send a carrier pigeon. I'm going to stalk you. I'm going to show up at your office. I'm trying to do that without. Ghosting is a real thing. It's not necessarily a new word. All right, here's your steps. Step 1 through 6. Let's start wrapping up. Okay. You got to build trust through knowledge of them and build that trust quick. You got to share success stories. Do you want to be present, competitive, or dominant? Be prepared to present your pricing on the spot. Number 4 might throw people off. Might throw you guys off. Oh, Ryan, I'm so used to doing, proposals, and I don't like packages. Seems so cookie cutter. It only seems cookie cutter if you make it seem cookie cutter. The soft close. What do you think? What can we? How about this? What do you think? And you've got to set a time to review that proposal. Those are the 6 steps. Now, some of you, what you do is you do some of that, but you share your success stories at the end. Stop doing that. If nothing else, go and share your success stories. Really share those up front. I think it's vividly important. Okay, so let's give you some action items as we begin to wrap up. Thanks for being here for 3 hours, and hopefully the enthusiasm level for my coffee wasn't overwhelming. Go to the chat area. Here's what I want you to think about before you type just one. From each workshop, I want you to think about on a piece of paper there, I want you to write down one thing from each one. All right. So the first was retargeting COVID. All right. So I want you to jot down on a piece of paper there. What was your one takeaway? Then I want you to think about objections. What was your one takeaway from objections? Jot that. I want you to think about hosting sales calls. What was your one takeaway there? Okay. So let me give you a couple seconds here. I want you to jot those down, those three. And then if you would, so your colleagues can see, to learn from you, what were your three things? And I want you to chat them across. Take a couple seconds here. Because I want to help you put these things into action. So jot down the three things in the chat box. I want you to encourage your colleagues. So type them across. Look at Jack being the first one. Well done. All right, let me put my glasses on. Some of you knew me before I needed glasses. Brand maintenance. Your absence is company ABC's opportunity, and last but not least, present, competitive, and dominant. Absence is your competitor's opportunity. Brand maintenance. Clearly, you take good notes, Jack. The marketing gap, email. Karen, what about the email? What was the big takeaway in the email piece? Chat that across if you don't mind. Love to know. Brand awareness and name dropping. The game changer. Yet so many reps are chicken. Oh, I can't talk about another advertiser to another advertiser. They all talk bad about them. You're talking positive. Recommendations, so important. That isn't required. Give them recommendations. Guys, and explain the marketing gap. It's real and it's going to continue on depending on the type of business. Concern. May I share my? Hey, Russ, that's a good one. I was getting on board a flight pre-COVID, and a guy behind me, he said, "Excuse me, sir, I have a concern. May I share my concern?" I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so. Around, I said, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "You don't know me, man, but I've been on some workshops with." Oh, that's cool. That's great. He's like, "Oh, it's good to meet you." I said, "Yeah, it's good to meet you too." And then it ends up he sits right next to me on the airplane. I'm like, oh my gosh, all he wanted to do was have a drink and answer email. Research so you can build trust with customers quickly. It's good. There's a reality to advertising in your community. Email, the advertising match program. Yeah, I'm doing dollar for dollar matching. When you decided to meet with me, what problem were you hoping I could solve? Yeah, it's a good one. Hey, Zion, I hope I'm saying your name right, by the way. Creating a word track for every objection is so important, especially all of you that are old dogs. We'll say we're old if we're over the age of 45, right? I don't feel old, but these word tracks are vividly important because some of you need to practice. Remember, amateurs wing it, professionals practice. Michael Jordan, at the height of his career, shot more free throws every day than anybody else. Tiger Woods could beat you with a butter knife because he hits thousands of golf. Sell competitive. Yeah, build all your proposals around competitive. Here's the thing, friends. So let me help you work something out. Wrap up. So you've got three things that all of you have come up with. Stop trying to be an all right, Russ, stop trying to be an overachiever. See Russ smile. Overachiever. Write down the three things. We got a couple days left here. Do one of those three things. Do it well for a week. Move on to the next thing. What happens is you attend these workshops and these seminars and you try to do all three things. It's not going to work out. You're too busy. You got too much stuff going on. So what I want you to consider doing is just doing one thing for a couple weeks and do it well. Then move on to the second thing. Ad directors out there. Based upon this conversation, I want you to say, all right, what were your three things? Let's work together on one of those things for the next couple of weeks. Move on to the second thing for a couple of weeks, and then the third thing for a couple of weeks. What kills us in ad sales land is that we're overachievers. We try to do too many things and we never get great at any one single thing. I think that's important. Let me end with what I started with. First, thanks for having me here. And I hope that everybody kind of grasps. I take COVID very, very seriously, doing things to protect my family, my business, etc. But I'm trying to be light today because it's been pretty dark out there in ad sales land. Please don't misunderstand my joviality, my jovial attitude for lack of concern about what's happening in our country, racial injustice to COVID, etc., politics. Just trying to be light. Some light here, bring some light to a rather dark time for us. Ad sales was easy, friends. They're not. So we're either crazy. We found careers that'll feed our families for a life. Mary, thanks for having me. Thanks to all your colleagues as well. I'm sure I didn't name them all, but Mary, thanks so much for putting this. And for everybody at the Pennsylvania, Press and Media, sure appreciate you very much.
Ryan, we really appreciate your time and expertise, and I thank all of our attendees again. We will be sending a follow-up communication early next week with a recording link for this, as well as that information that Ryan shared earlier via Dropbox. So please be on the lookout for that, and thank you again. We'll also have a link for your comments and your feedback on this session then as well. So I hope you all have a
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, everybody. See you live real soon. Fingers crossed. Stay safe out there. Take care. Bye-bye, friends.